Chapter 2269. When Luli captured Tan Long, Ning Ao, and the other two patriarchs, he had planned to make a scene. It was not that he liked to make a scene or seek revenge, but he wanted a better life. He had already disabled Ning Ao and Tan Long and broken Hu Qianjuan's legs. The feud was settled. Even if Luli could make peace and pretend that nothing had happened, the three patriarchs would still hold a grudge against him and try their best to kill him. One could be a thief for 1,000 days, but there was no such thing as guarding against thieves for 1,000 days. The three patriarchs all had families and forces behind them. Their relationships in the palace of Rakshasa were intertwined. Luli was all by himself without any support. How could he defend himself from the three families' open spears and covert attacks? He could not. Since he could not defend himself, and he could not leave for the time being, what could he do? There was only one way: to make a scene, the bigger the better. He had to make it so that the three families wouldn't dare to make trouble for him. Once he died, all the blame would be on the three families. He was the chosen one. This was a fact known to the entire Rakshasa Sea. If he died for no reason, then everyone would suspect the three families. By then, the palace of Rakshasa would become unstable. Luo Fian would have to deal with it, even if she didn't want to. What he wanted was for the three families to be cautious and not to do anything to him for the time being. Only then could he find a chance to crack the mysterious heaven talisman and escape. He was in the right. Why shouldn't he make a scene? Making a scene would do him no harm. In the next 1 or 2 years, people would hide from him, fearing that he would end up like Tan Long and the other two patriarchs. There was one more thing. Luli believed that Luo Fian would not stand aside, at least not in favor of the three families. Luli had just been appointed as the chosen one. Luo Fian would defend her authority. If someone tried to assassinate him, it would be a slap on Luo Fian's face. Luli asked Yuan Lingyun to bring a group of people to the Hall of Patriarchs. He did not ask them to testify or speak for him. He wanted to make a scene and get them to cheer for him. Yuan Lingyun went out with Lu Qianqian. She had quite a reputation, but she didn't say what was going on. She just said that Luli invited them to watch a play outside the Hall of Patriarchs. It was a good thing to watch a play. Young people loved fun. Did Luli just quarrel with Patriarch Foam? They were also very curious about what was going on. Luli walked out, and so did all the young masters and young ladies. Luli took them to the teleportation formation. Luli and the others were supposed to stay here for 1.5 years. However, Patriarchshire was not here, and nobody dared to stop them. They were teleported out easily. They were teleported to a castle on the Cyan Cloud Peak. After Luli came out, he flew towards the Hall of Patriarchs with a group of people. Lu Qianqian understood some inside information and was a little worried. Yuan Lingyun put on a bitter smile, but she owed Luli a favor, and he wouldn't ask her to do too much. Therefore, she made up her mind and flew over. As for the others, they didn't know what was going on, so they all followed along. Outside the Hall of Patriarchs, Luli felt more than a dozen psychic powers locked onto him. He said nothing and flew to the outside of the Hall of Patriarchs. The wicked bee glowed as Tan Long and the others were teleported out. The group of young masters and young mistresses were dumbfounded. Those who reacted quickly had a change of expression. The show that Luli had invited them here was too exciting. They might not be able to step down later. Tan Long and the other two's wounds were healed. Hu Qianjuan's leg, Ning Ao, and Tan Long's severed arm were growing back. That being said, it was obvious that Tan Long and Ning Ao's pellets were destroyed. The three of them were in a miserable state. They were tied up by cold iron chains. Their robes were ragged and they were covered in blood. Their hair was disheveled. They looked like 3 beggars. At first, the 3 of them were not used to being teleported out. But soon, they came to their senses. When they saw the Hall of Patriarchs and the young masters and young ladies, their faces were clouded. Luli made a big fuss. This matter could not be suppressed any longer. Soon, the news would spread across the palace of Rakshasa, and then the entire Rakshasa. Ning Ao and Tan Long's pellets could be rebuilt, and Hu Qianjuan's seal could be removed. But after today, The reputation that the three of them had worked so hard to build would be ruined. The three of them would not be able to hold their heads up high in the palace of Rakshasa, let alone be the chosen one. What happened today would be a disgrace for the rest of their lives. The three of them said nothing. They just stared at Lu Li with hatred. If looks could kill, Lu Li would have been minced alive. Buzzing, more and more psychic power was coming. Lu Li stood outside the Hall of Patriarchs without saying a word. He could sense that at least dozens of patriarchs and thousands of warriors were sending their psychic power over. It was quiet in the Hall of Patriarchs, so quiet that it was terrifying. The team of warriors outside were frightened. Only one of them went in to report. The others didn't dare to move. After the time for 10 breaths, a dignified old man walked out from the Hall of Patriarchs. At first, he glared at Lu Li and then waved his hand and said, "Someone, take the three of them away to treat their wounds." The patriarch that came was not one of the most powerful patriarchs, but an average one. Lu Li did not know what he was in charge of, but he was sure that it had something to do with Tan Long, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun. It could also be that it was not convenient for the big shots in the Hall of Patriarchs to show up, and they sent this patriarch to control the situation. Whoosh! Several warriors walked over and were about to carry the three away when Lu Li said, "Patriarch, didn't even ask for the reason, and you just took them away. I don't think that is against the rules. What is more, the three of them are almost healed. They won't die even if they stay here for a while. How dare you?" The dignified old man glared at Lu Li. Horrifying chi and energy spread out from him. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on Lu Li. The old man bellowed, "Lu Li, do you want to be like the Palace of Hell? Are you trying to rebel?" Hiss, hiss, Yuan Ling Yun and the others gasped. They knew this patriarch. His surname was Niao. He was a patriarch of the Hall of Punishments. Usually, patriarchs of the Hall of Punishments would be in charge of trivial matters. Patriarchs of the Hall of Punishments were usually in charge of trivial matters. Patriarchs of the Hall of Punishments were usually in charge of Patriarch Niao. Patriarchs of the Hall of Punishments were suffocating. What was more, the Hall of Punishments was the place that young masters and young ladies were most afraid of. Patriarch Niao's prestige had been building up over the years. Just when they thought Lu Li would back down, he used his dragon roar skill and shouted, "How dare you? Who are you? How dare you scold me? You don't know right from wrong? You don't know right from wrong? You don't know right from wrong. You're siding with these three rebellious people, and you say that I am a traitor? Are you in cahoots with them? Are you involved in the conspiracy to murder me? The world is clear and bright. Every palace has its rules. Master above and patriarchs below. How can you act like a tyrant here? What do you think Chief Patriarch and the others are? What do you think Master is?" Lu Li used Dragon Roar, and his voice was heard in an area with a radius of more than 30 miles. Several mountains nearby were alarmed. Many people flew over, and the patrolling troops were approaching as well. Yuan Ling Yun and the others felt their ears buzzing. It was not that Lu Li's voice was loud. What was more important was that Lu Li's words had stunned Yuan Ling Yun and the dozens of young masters and young ladies. How dare Lu Li scold a patriarch of the Hall of Punishments? It was as if Lu Li was scolding his grandson. He even accused Lu Li of being an accomplice. Chapter 2270. In any power, the Criminal Law Hall was an extremely important and feared hall. Playboy young masters were especially afraid of the Hall of Law. Falling into the hands of the Hall of Law would not only humiliate them, but they would also be severely punished. Therefore, when young masters and young ladies saw someone from the Hall of Law, they would be humble. Patriarchs from other departments would greet them as uncles or grandpa with a smile. But when it came to the Hall of Law, they would only salute with respect and then leave quickly. This kind of prestige was formed over the years, and it was deeply rooted in their minds. Usually, they would tremble in fear when they saw Patriarch Niao, afraid that they would say something wrong. But now, Lu Li was scolding Patriarch Niao in the nose. Patriarch Niao had never experienced this. He had been working at the Hall of Law for thousands of years. Even the younger generation would look at him like a mouse seeing a cat, let alone someone yelling at him like this. It just so happened that Lu had accused him so many times that he didn't know how to refute. There were so many patriarchs staring at him. Luo Fian might be alarmed as well. If he said something wrong, he might lose his position as a patriarch. Okay. From the Hall of Patriarchs came a dignified voice. Chief Patriarch had spoken in person. Bring the three of them in. Divine Son, come in as well. The rest are dismissed. In the Palace of Devils, the three great patriarchs were not in charge of specific affairs. They were only three great warriors or three superfighters. Apart from the master, Chief Patriarch had the highest authority. Basically, all the affairs were managed by Chief Patriarch. Only when something big happened would the Chief Patriarch be asked to make a decision. Nobody dared to disobey Chief Patriarch. The escorts brought the three in. Patriarch Neo glared at Lu angrily and walked into the Hall of Patriarchs. Lu was not afraid at all. He walked in strides. Yuan Lingyun and the others didn't leave. Now that they had seen the show, it was pointless to leave. They might as well watch until the end and wait for the final result. Lu Qianqian was eager to see the world in chaos. She and Lu didn't leave. The others stood there with their teeth clenched. Of course, they didn't dare to use psychic power, so they had to wait outside. There weren't many elders in the Elders' Hall, only about 30 to 40 of them. These people were probably gathered by the Great Elder immediately after Elder Phone returned. During this period of time, many elders had gone out. For example, Fubugawei had gone out to oversee the situation and was not in Rakshasa Island. The elders of the Intelligence Hall were also not around. The dozens of patriarchs looked at Lu with hostility. This was an eventful period. The reason why there were so many troubles was that the Palace of Hell was infuriated by the fact that the Palace of Demons had taken in Lu. Now, instead of keeping a low profile, Lu dared to make trouble. Just now it was their idea that Patriarch Neo went out. They hoped that Lu could turn the matter into a small one. They hoped that Lu could let it go peacefully. They were facing a great enemy from the outside, but there was still internal strife. How could the group of elders not be angry? After Lu bowed to Chief Patriarch and the others, he stood there calmly, ignoring everyone's looks. There were three elders sitting at the head of the table: the Great Elder, the Disciplinary Hall Elder, and the Internal Affairs Hall Elder. The other elders were not present, most likely having been sent out. Apart from the Chief Patriarch and the other 7 or 8 patriarchs, the other patriarchs were looking at Lu with dissatisfaction. Some of them had killing intent in their eyes. They must be related to Tan Long, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun. Untie the iron chains first. Chief Patriarch waved his hand. A patriarch walked over and cut off the iron chains. Then, he fed the 3 with top-level healing pellets. Tell me, Chief Patriarch glanced over to Tan Long and the other 2 without looking at Lu. He asked what happened. Tell me in detail. Tan Long and the other 2's eyes glowed. Chief Patriarch was asking them first? Was he giving them a chance to clear their names? Hu Qianjun and Ning Ao looked at each other, but said nothing. Tan Long took a deep breath and staggered to his feet. He then knelt on one knee and shouted in a deep voice, "Elders, please seek justice for the 3 of us." Tan Long paused for a moment, as if he was thinking about how to phrase his words. After the time for 2 breaths, he said, "This time, when we went to the Milky Way realm to wipe out the demons, everything went well at first. We ran into a ghost fire king. Patriarch sure told us to leave first, and we left at once. We waited for more than a day, but Patriarch sure didn't come back. We decided to go back to the Milky Way city, but the Divine Sun didn't want to go with us. Later, the 3 of us went out to patrol and ran into the Divine Sun. Because of some verbal conflict, we fought. Then, the Divine Sun destroyed our pellets, and Qianjuan's leg was cut off. The Divine Sun imprisoned us and tortured us. Today, we can see the light of day again." Tan Long was good at acting. His words were mixed with truth and falsehood. He looked wronged, but his voice was full of emotion. His miserable appearance made others feel sorry for him. Lu was expressionless as well. He didn't refute anything. As soon as Tan Long finished his words, the hall became noisy. Some patriarchs began to complain, saying that Lu Li was cruel and merciless, that he didn't care about unity, and that he killed his own brothers. The three patriarchs with real power said nothing. Chief Patriarch looked at Hu Qianjun and Ning Ao and asked, "What do you have to say?" Ning Ao cupped his fists and said, "I will listen to you, patriarchs." Hu Qianjun cupped his fists and said, "I will listen to you, patriarchs." Both of them were smart. They didn't turn the truth upside down. They just gave vague answers. The patriarchs had sharp eyes, and they could not tolerate any mistakes. Talking nonsense would only make things worse. Tianlong had said everything. It was pointless for them to say anything else. Chief Patriarch looked at Lu Li and asked, "Divine Son, do you have anything to say?" Lu Li shook his head and said no. The hall became noisy again. Another group of patriarchs came out and accused Lu Li loudly. They accused Lu Li in all kinds of ways, saying that he was cruel and merciless and lawless. Aha, Lu Li laughed. He said no because he wanted to see how the patriarchs were going to react. He took out a memory crystal. He threw it to Chief Patriarch and said, "Chief Patriarch, take a look. You can see who is right and who is wrong." Memory crystal. Tianlong's expressions changed. Hu Qianjun and Ning Ao looked at each other and forced a smile. Luckily, they didn't say anything or else they would have been slapped in the face. Chief Patriarch took over the memory crystal, poured divine energy in, and closed his eyes to sense it. Then, he handed the memory crystal to the patriarch of the Hall of Law next to him, and then to the other important patriarchs. The memory crystal recorded everything as soon as the three patriarchs showed up. Tianlong's words made it clear that the three patriarchs wanted to kill Lu Li. The evidence was conclusive. Nobody could clear their names. "Do you want to take a look?" Chief Patriarch waved the memory crystal. Tianlong, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun turned pale. Lu Li was prepared. It was pointless for them to say more. Chapter 2271. The truth was clear. There was no need to ask who was right or wrong. Now, it all came down to how to deal with it. Not only did they have to give Lu Li an explanation, they had to give the entire palace of Rakshasa an explanation. Otherwise, it would be difficult to convince the public, and there would be more problems. Chief Patriarch said nothing. He looked at the other important patriarchs. Clearly, they were discussing secretly. The other patriarchs didn't dare to say anything. They waited quietly. Lu Li said nothing. He had to wait for the Hall of Patriarchs to give him an explanation. On the other hand, Tianlong and the other two were pale. There was even a trace of fear in Tianlong's eyes. He was afraid that the Hall of Patriarchs would sentence them to death. Infighting was a serious crime, not to mention assassinating a god's son. If they were average people, or even just a regular patriarch, there would be no need to think about it. Chief Patriarch would kill them right away as a warning to others. The three of them all had special identities. More importantly, they were young. Who didn't make mistakes when they were young? They had two great patriarchs and a patriarch of the Hall of Warfare behind them. If the three of them were killed, the entire palace of Rakshasa would be in turmoil. They discussed for the time for one incense stick to burn before they came to a conclusion. However, just as Chief Patriarch was about to say something, there came some noise outside. Lu Li used psychic power to check and saw an old man walking over with a walking stick. That old man was really old. His back was bent like a prawn. He had a walking stick with a dragon head and wore plain cotton clothes. He looked like an average farmer. His steps were not steady. He was wobbling as if he could fall at any time. He was old and clumsy. He didn't have any chi and energy of a warrior. He was more like an old farmer from the countryside who had gone to the wrong place. That being said, a man like this had caused quite a stir outside. All the young masters, young ladies, and warriors looked at him with respect and fear. This old man rarely came out in recent years, but everyone had seen his portrait. Their seniors and their families told them. This was one of the people they could not afford to offend. Tanyu, nicknamed the Rain Demon, was one of the most powerful warriors at the Rakshasa Sea for more than 100,000 years. He once killed 5 million warriors by himself. Back then, Rain Demon was not a member of Rakshasa Palace. He had brought his younger brother to Rakshasa Sea to wander. Later, his younger brother was killed. In a fit of rage, he exterminated 16 forces and 5 million martial artists. His fierce name resounded throughout Rakshasa Sea. After joining the Rakshasa Palace, the rain demon fought for the Rakshasa Palace and made great contributions. Although he rarely fought in the last few thousand years, who in the entire Rakshasa Palace, including the Rakshasa Sea, dared to underestimate him? Today, he walked out again and came directly to the Elder's Hall. His purpose was self-evident. He was here for Tanlong, or rather, he was here for Tanlong and Ning Ao. The Great Elder and the others all stood up. Their expressions became somewhat ugly. The arrival of the Rain Demon had increased the pressure on them. Although the Grand Supreme Elder could not interfere with the internal affairs of the palace, if he really wanted to interfere, who would dare to not give him face? It was easy to understand that everyone had the heart to flatter their children. The problem was that the impact of today's matter was too great. If Rain Demon directly interfered and protected the three of them, it would make the impact extremely bad. Top young masters and young ladies don't need to be punished for their mistakes. They could kill whoever they wanted to kill. Today, they even dared to kill the Divine Sun. Tomorrow, would they be able to kill anyone they disliked in the palace? Did the Rakshasa Palace belong to the three families? Were the rest of the people in the Rakshasa Palace slaves of the three families? Could they kill anyone they wanted to? Without rules, nothing could be accomplished. The Rakshasa Palace was such a big place. Once there were no rules, wouldn't it be a mess? Once there was internal chaos, the Rakshasa Palace would not be far from destruction. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The Rain Demon walked in slowly, expressionless. The Great Elder walked over with a group of people and bowed to the Rain Demon. His eyes were fixed on Tanlong and the other two. He waved his hand and asked the group to step back. Then he walked slowly to Tanlong and the other two. When Tanlong and the other two saw the Rain Demon, they were overjoyed. However, when they saw the Rain Demon, they were a bit frightened. The three of them knelt down on one knee and said nothing. Swish! The Rain Demon swung the crutch in his hand and smashed it at Tanlong's leg. With a muffled sound, one of Tanlong's legs was immediately broken and he fell to the ground. The Rain Demon swung the crutch at Ning Ao and Hu Qianjun with lightning speed. One of their legs was broken. The three of them revealed painful expressions, but they did not dare to make a sound. The main hall was in an uproar. Many people tried to persuade the Rain Demon not to be angry and that the children were not sensible. However, the Great Elder and the others did not say a word. How dare you? The Rain Demon spoke. His eyes were cold as he glanced at the three and said angrily, "What is a divine son? He is the candidate for the next palace lord. He is the future leader of the Rakshasa Palace and our hope. Who gave you the courage to assassinate him? It's fine if you mess around normally, but you dare to mess around with such a big issue. You are simply lawless." Men dragged the three of them out and behead them as a warning to others. The first part of the sentence was fine, but the second part of the sentence scared the group of people. The Rain Demon was not here to plead for the three of them. He was here to send them to hell in person. The patriarchs looked at each other. Then someone came to his senses and cupped his fists. "Great Patriarch, please calm down. The three of them are guilty, but they do not deserve to be sentenced to death. All young people can make mistakes." "Yes, yes," another patriarch added. "It is not easy to train talents. The three of them have spent countless resources to reach their current realm. How can we kill them so easily? The Hell Palace is in a war with us. We are in need of manpower. Great Patriarch, you are hurting your loved ones and pleasing your enemies. Great Patriarch, please take back your order." "You can't do that," many patriarchs said. All of them spoke with a strong sense of righteousness. They kept saying that they were doing this for the Rakshasa Palace. The more they talked, the more they felt that the three of them were not guilty. If the Great Patriarch insisted on doing this, then he would be making a grave mistake. Still, the patriarch said nothing. Luli looked on coldly and snorted inwardly. The old man was good at playing tricks. He made concessions in order to advance. He even had a group of people to help him. Did he really think Lu Li was an idiot? Don't kill them. Rain Demon didn't even look at Luli. He glanced over to the patriarchs, thought for a while, and said with a cold snort, "We can spare their lives. But they cannot escape punishment. They must be punished severely. Otherwise, how can we convince the others, and how can we answer to the Godson? I suggest we destroy their cultivation and expel them from the Rakshasa palace. Let them run their own course outside. What do you think?" The patriarchs looked at each other, speechless. They had thought that Rain Demon would take advantage of the situation to get out of this predicament. They didn't expect that he would go on. It would be tiring for them to work together. Destroying their cultivation and being expelled from the Rakshasa palace would be worse than death for the three of them. "I think we can do that." Before the patriarchs could start acting, Luli took the initiative. He nodded and said, "I have heard that Great Patriarch is upright and plain-spoken. Today, I can see that you are worthy of your reputation. I think Great Patriarch is fair. I agree with you personally." The patriarchs were dumbfounded. Rain Demon didn't need Luli to play along with him. Luli's interruption made it impossible for the show to go on. Chapter 2272. Great Patriarch squinted. His face was clouded. He was acting as well. He needed a way out, and he wanted to give the Hall of Patriarchs a way out. As for what Luli thought, Great Patriarch didn't care. The fact that Great Patriarch was here was a statement of his attitude. If the patriarchs could understand, so could Luo Fian. Great Patriarch would not show his face easily. This time, he had no other choice. The younger generation was disappointing. Tan Long was the only one who could be trusted. Great Patriarch must protect the family's legacy. Great Patriarch was determined to be strong all his life. If he wanted to protect someone, he would not lower himself to beg. Therefore, he had to put on a show. He believed that the patriarchs would cooperate with him. After all, many of them had been helped by him. The patriarchs were cooperative. Chief Patriarch said nothing. Everything was supposed to go smoothly. However, Luli's words stunned everyone, including Rain Demon. He didn't know how to deal with the situation. Luli didn't play by the rules. He was trying to push the three of them to the brink of death. What kind of person was Rain Demon? That was the top powerhouse in the entire Rakshasa Sea. He could make the Rakshasa palace tremble with just a stomp of his foot. Not to mention him coming out personally. Even if he sent someone to pass a message, who would dare to ignore his opinion? Luli was slapping them in the face in public, loud and clear. The atmosphere became awkward. Rain Demon didn't say anything, and neither did the others. The atmosphere in the hall was suffocating. Rain Demon's expressions were clouded. Inevitably, his chi and energy leaked out. He squinted at Luli. Even though there was no killing intent in his eyes, Luli felt like a mountain was pressing down on him, suffocating him. Tan Long, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun glared at Luli with hatred. If they were really expelled from the Palace of Devil's Sea, not only would they be killed right away, it would be difficult for them to go back to the Palace of Devil's Sea. By then, they would have to wander around outside like ghosts or hide in a secret stronghold of the Palace of Devil's Sea. That would be worse than death. After a full 5 breaths of time, the Internal Affairs Hall elder finally broke the silence. He said, "Nurturing a powerhouse requires countless resources. If they're easily crippled and expelled, it is a great waste of resources. How about this? Throw them into the Milky Way realm and let them serve for 10,000 years. The 3 of them will go to clear out the evil spirits inside, and there must be no elders to protect them. If they die in battle, then they're unlucky." The status of the Internal Affairs Hall elder in Rakshasa Palace was quite high. After all, he was in charge of all the internal affairs. He was in charge of all the resource allocation. If someone offended him, they would not have a good life in the future. His words could be considered to be fair. Not only did he punish the 3, but he also took the 3 families' faces into consideration. He could also give Luli an explanation. Luli frowned. He was not satisfied. Who knew if the 3 families would send someone to protect them secretly? After serving for 10,000 years, if someone were to play tricks on them, they could quietly take them away after serving for a few years. At that time, they would still be free and unfettered. Even in the Tianhe realm, with the power of the three families, they could still live comfortably. Tianlong and the other two had bitter expressions on their faces. If they stayed in the Tianhe realm for 10,000 years, even if they had a life of luxury, even if their clan sent them hundreds of beauties, they would still go crazy. 10,000 years is too long, isn't it? A patriarch said, a warrior may seem to have a long life, but how many can actually live for 100,000 years? I think the three of them will be driven crazy in there. I think we should give them something to look forward to. Just serve for 1,000 years. Let them cultivate and reflect on themselves inside. When they come out, they will be the three great generals of our Rakshasa palace. Another gray-haired patriarch chimed in. Patriarch Lu is right. I think even 1,000 years is too long. 100 years is better. The three of them will be imprisoned for 100 years. I think after this, they will turn over a new leaf and become a new man. Tianlong and the other two's eyes glowed. 100 years was nothing. It would be over soon after some cultivation. Maybe the three of them could reach the fourth tribulation realm. This kind of punishment was nothing to them. I don't think we need 100 years. Lu Li said again with a light smile. How about we throw them in the Tianhe realm for a month? Let them recuperate, and then they can come out to assassinate others. The gray-haired patriarch was ashamed and angry. Lu Li was being too harsh. He didn't show him any respect. The patriarch glared at Lu Li and said, Son of God, when it is possible to forgive and forget, one should forgive and forget. In the future, if you do something wrong, nobody will plead for you. What are you talking about? Lu Li rolled his eyes and said, I was almost assassinated and I almost died. Did anyone say anything for me? If my surname was Tan and I was assassinated by some average warrior, even a patriarch, the entire family of the patriarch would be killed. Come to think of it, I, the son of God, am really just a decoration. Have any of you ever cared about my feelings? Lu Li's words made the atmosphere awkward again. What Lu Li said was the truth. They didn't take him seriously. The thing was, it was enough for them to know it. There was no need to say it out loud. What was the point of making it so awkward? He was eloquent and unforgiving. That was the feeling Lu Li gave. Some things could not be put on the table, but Lu Li had laid them all out and demanded an explanation. The patriarchs were having a headache. Who dared to disrespect Rain Demon when he was here in person? But Lu Li was relentless. If they could not satisfy Lu Li, there would be no end to this. They could not kill Lu Li in one move, could they? After all, it was Luo Fian who appointed Lu Li to be the son of God. Since no one is going to say anything to you, then this consort will say the other half. Just as the great elder and the others were at their wits' end, a gentle voice rang out. The group of people in the hall immediately became serious, and even Rain Demon's expression became a bit more respectful. That gentle voice continued after a pause. Tianlong, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun tried to assassinate the son of God. The evidence is conclusive, and the impact is bad. If we don't punish the three, we will not be able to uphold the rules. Considering that the three are young and the contributions of Rain Demon and the others over the years, the death penalty can be spared. Send the three to the underworld realm and let them stay there for 3 years. If they can come out alive, everything will be written off. Do you have any objections? Underworld realm? Many patriarchs in the hall were taken aback. Even Chief Patriarch and the others were taken aback. Rain Demon's expression became even more gloomy. Apart from Lu Li, everyone here knew what kind of place the underworld realm was. Apart from Chief Patriarch, Rain Demon, and the others, even the average patriarchs could not survive for 3 years. The probability of the three coming out alive was less than 10%. Chapter 2273. Luo Fian made the final decision. At the palace of Rakshasa, Luo Fian was the king. Nobody questioned her orders. Even if her orders were wrong, nobody dared to disobey, because those who disobeyed were all dead. The three were taken away. Their wounds would be healed and their pellets would be formed again. But when their abilities were restored, they would be taken to the underworld realm. This was under the supervision of the Hall of Punishments. Nobody would dare to mess around. Rain Demon left without looking at Lu Li or saying anything. But the more she did this, the more Lu Li felt the pressure. But for the time being, Lu Li was safe. Nobody dared to make trouble for him after this incident. After all, he was in the limelight. Lu Li knew that he could only live for a few years at most. After a few years, the three families would secretly make a move against him. If he could not find a way to crack the Black Heaven Talisman in a few years, he would have to die. Luo Fian gave no more orders after this. She didn't summon Lu Li either. Maybe many people were right. Lu Li was just a tool for Luo Fian, a tool to beat the three great patriarchs. The position of the chosen one should have been Tan Long or Yuan Lingyun. But Luo Fian gave it to an outsider. Even Rain Demon showed up and didn't show much respect. From this, Luo Fian was not satisfied with Rain Demon. The palace of Rakshasa had fewer powerful warriors. How could Luo Fian support such a large palace of Rakshasa alone? Therefore, Luo Fian didn't want to fall out with the three great patriarchs. Lu Li's appearance was a good opportunity. He had beaten the three great patriarchs and intimidated a group of patriarchs. There was a rumor that Luo Fian liked Lu Li and wanted to take him as a boy toy. But it had been a long time, and Luo Fian didn't summon Lu Li even once. It could be seen that she didn't like Lu Li and didn't think much of him. Lu Li went back to his own manor. Jian Xiong and the others had come back a long time ago. Before Lu Li came back, they had learned everything. Jian Xiong was happy and worried at the same time. He was happy that his master could win, and he could hold his head high. He was worried that Lu Li had offended too many people this time. Sooner or later, he would be in trouble. He was on Lu Li's side. This time, they were supposed to stay in the Tian'er realm for a long time, but because of Elder Shi's death in battle and the matter with Tan Long and the other two, this matter was delayed. Lu Li didn't know if he would go to the Milky Way realm or not. After he came back, he didn't care about anything else. He cultivated in peace. While refining the body-tempering godly medicine, he cultivated the bone-tempering technique and comprehended the dragon wrestling technique. It only took 3 days for the news to spread throughout the entire Luosha Palace, causing a huge sensation. Tan Long, Ning Ao, and Hu Qianjun were the top young masters of the Rakshasa Palace. Who in the entire Rakshasa Palace had not heard of the three of them? To countless Devil Palace soldiers and martial artists, he was a top figure. He was a figure that even had to sneak a few glances at. Now, these three young masters have been crippled, captured, and thrown into the Elder's Hall. Later, the Rain Demon, a powerful warrior whose name was known throughout the Rakshasa Sea, showed up. However, the outcome was tragic. He was sentenced to be thrown into the underworld for 3 years. The underworld was famous in the Rakshasa Palace. It was a shattered space, one of the most horrifying places in the entire Rakshasa Sea. Average warriors would die for sure. Warriors of the Fourth Tribulation realm could survive for a while, but as time went on, they would die as well. Only warriors like the Rain Demon and Luo Fian could survive for a long time in there. A top-notch young master had fallen to such a state because of Rain Demon's appearance. This made many people sigh. They also paid more attention to Lu Li, the Chosen One. A Chosen One without any background. Many people had thought that Lu Li's position was unstable. They didn't expect that he could be so unyielding. The most important thing was that he had removed 3 young masters. Now that he could remove 3 famous young masters with powerful backgrounds, it would be easy for Lu Li to deal with others. Lu Li suddenly became one of the people in the Rakshasa Palace that should not be messed with. Lu Li's way of doing things scared many people. Nobody had the guts to play with such a lunatic. Lu Li had been in closed-door cultivation. He didn't care about what was going on outside. He couldn't do anything even if he wanted to. Right now, he couldn't do anything but cultivate and cultivate. The battle was still going on outside, but both sides were restraining themselves. Both the Hell Palace and the Rakshasa Palace had lost many people. Both sides destroyed one secret branch, and the other destroyed an island. Neither side could afford to lose more. 3 months later, Tan Long and the other 2 had recovered from their injuries and abilities. They were sent to the underworld by the Hall of Discipline. Many people in the three families were furious, but there was nothing they could do. They didn't dare to make trouble for Luli now. Bubugue was the most annoyed. He wanted to pull Luli into his team. He thought he had been treating Luli well. Little did he know that Luli had done something to his grandson. It was uncertain whether Hu Qianjun could come back after he went to the underworld. Bubugue wanted to go to Luli and question him, but he held back. Luo Fian had given the order in person, which represented a certain attitude. It was better to keep a low profile at the moment. None of the other young masters and young ladies came to visit Luli. Many of them were grateful to Luli for bringing them back to the Milky Way City. But who dared to make friends with Luli after what had happened? How many people would he offend? Even Yuan Lingyun and Lu Qianqian didn't come to see Luli. Chief Patriarch must have something to say to them. Luli was happy to be at ease. He consumed a large number of elixirs, and his body was growing stronger. However, these godly medicines were all ordinary godly medicines. At his current level, it was impossible for him to increase his physical strength by a large margin. Another 3 months passed. Luli's yard was still peaceful. It was as if the Son of God had been forgotten. Nobody thought of him. After cultivating for so long, Luli's dragon wrestling skill made no progress, which frustrated him. He could only watch helplessly as a door was right in front of him. The door was cracked, but he was unable to push it open or enter. Dusk. Half of the sky was dyed red by the setting sun. Finally, Luli's yard was disturbed by a guest. Luli was alarmed. He used psychic power to check. He was surprised to see a lady in a yellow dress. Yuan Lingyun had come after 6 months. Wasn't she afraid of offending the 3 families? Had she figured out a way to crack the mysterious heaven talisman? Luli was intrigued. He walked out and welcomed Yuan Lingyun in. He asked a maid to serve tea, activated the inhibition formation in the hall, and said, "Lady Lingyun, you shouldn't be here. Even if you are, you shouldn't come so openly." Haha. Yuan Lingyun smiled gently and said, "Sneaking around will cause more misunderstandings. It's okay to be above board. Please forgive me for not visiting you in the past few months." "It's okay." Luli waved his hand. He looked at Yuan Lingyun and asked, "Do you have any good news?" Chapter 2274. Battle Beasts. Luli was surprised. Then his eyes glowed. If he could tame dozens or hundreds of demons like the Phantom King, he wouldn't be afraid of warriors at the later stage of the Fourth Tribulation. What kind of demons? Tell me more. Luli's interest was piqued. The more beasts like the Phantom King, the better. Imagine hundreds of Phantom Kings flying out. How spectacular would that be? Yuan Lingyun saw Luli's eyes were glowing. She grinned and explained, "This is a newly discovered broken space. It was discovered 2 months ago, and the information has not been leaked yet. The Palace Lord and the 2 Supreme Elders both moved out, entering to search, discovering many strange divine medicines inside. There is one type of demon here, the Wind Warcraft. There are many of them. These wind demon beasts are quite famous in the third heaven. They're probably slightly faster than your Spectre King, but they're slightly weaker than your Spectre King. 5 of the Wind Demon Kings have already been killed by the Palace Lord. My master is organizing patriarchs to go in and clean up the Wind Warcraft. I'm here to inform you." Wind Warcraft? Luli didn't know much about the third heaven. This was the first time he had heard of it. Yuan Lingyun saw the confusion in Luli's eyes. She added with a smile, "I asked you to tame the Wind Warcraft because there is a precedent of this kind of demon being tamed. There is a powerful lord of the Ziyang continent. His chariot was pulled by 18 Wind Warcraft. If the Wind Warcraft can be tamed, then regular Wind Warcraft should be easy to tame. Today, the patriarchs are all discussing this and trying to tame some Wind Warcraft." Pulling the chariot with Wind Warcraft? Luli was speechless. Wasn't this lord too strong? The Wind Warcraft was at least as powerful as a warrior at the later stage of the Fourth Tribulation. It would be hard not to attract attention when he had 18 Wind Warcraft pulling the chariot. Luli had tamed the Phantom King before, so it shouldn't be too difficult to tame the Wind Warcraft. What he was thinking was whether it would be dangerous. He was not afraid of the wind warcraft, but he was afraid that someone would plot against him. There were so many wind warcraft inside, and many patriarchs would go in. If one of the patriarchs tried to frame the wind warcraft, Luo Fian wouldn't say anything as long as there was no concrete evidence. Admittedly, Yuan Lingyun was smart. She could tell what Lu Li was worried about. She said with a smile, Qian and I will both go in. My master will be there as well. I don't think anyone will do anything while my master is there. You are the most upright person. Yuan Lingyun's master was the great elder. To be able to sit in this position, one not only needed to be capable, but also needed to be absolutely loyal. Otherwise, how could Luo Fian dare to let him manage Rakshasa Palace with ease? Lily thought for a while. All of a sudden, he had an idea and said, Chief Patriarch asked you to deliver the message, right? Yuan Lingyun smiled and said, I knew I couldn't hide it from you. Master to give me a few hints. Otherwise, how would I dare to come to you openly? Success. Lu Li nodded and said, Please make the arrangements. I will go with you later and see if we can tame some wind warcraft. All right, I'm leaving. It's not good to stay for too long. Yuan Lingyun stood up with a blush on her face and instructed, If everything goes as expected, we should be leaving 3 days from now. I'll get someone to inform you when the time comes. Okay. Lu Li stood up to see her off. Looking at Yuan Lingyun's slim back, Lu Li shook his head. Everything about this girl was good except that she was too smart. Sometimes it was not a good thing for women to be too smart or to act too smart. 3 days later, Yuan Lingyun sent someone to inform Lu Li. Lu Li went out with Jin Xiong and 2 escorts to the Hall of Patriarchs. There was a group of people gathered outside the Hall of Patriarchs. There were more than 30 patriarchs, young masters and young ladies, and 3,000 warriors. There were people everywhere. What were those young masters and young ladies doing there? Lu Li frowned. Jin Xiong thought about it and explained, I think they are going there to see the world. The situation over there should be stabilized. Those patriarchs and so many warriors are going there to clean up the wind warcraft slowly. This time, the chief patriarch will go as well. Those young masters and young ladies will not be in danger. Also, I think they're going to find some badly injured wind warcraft for them to practice on. Jin Xiong was indeed a know-it-all. He had already found out about the situation. That being said, with so many people being mobilized, the news could not be kept a secret. Lu Li walked to the front of the patriarchs and bowed to them. The patriarchs all nodded. Even the ones that were angry at Lu Li didn't seem to be surprised. They didn't find it strange that Lu Li was going with them. Yuan Lingyun and the others were together. Pepper and Lu Qian were there. There were more young masters and young ladies. They were looking at Lu Li with mixed feelings. But none of them came to greet Lu Li. I think I have turned into a plague. Nobody dares to come near me. Lu Li laughed at himself. His voice was low, but Jin Xiong heard him. Jin Xiong said, Don't be discouraged, divine son. You are young, and you have a bright future ahead of you. When you have strong abilities, everyone will kneel before you. Lu Li chuckled, but said nothing more. He looked at Yuan Lingyun and waited indifferently on the spot. Lu Li didn't have to wait long. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Chief Patriarch came out with 2 other patriarchs. He glanced over and stopped at Lu Li. He waved his hand and said, Let's go. Teleport to the Luo Fu city. A teleportation formation was activated. It was large and could teleport more than 100 people at once. Chief Patriarch led a group of patriarchs to the teleportation formation first. After Chief Patriarch left, Lu Li and the others went into the teleportation formation as well. The Luo Fu city was to the north of the Rakshasa Island. It was a medium-sized city. When Lu Li and the others came out, a patriarch was waiting for them. They boarded a battleship and flew to the north. Many young masters and young ladies were excited. They gathered in 2s and 3s and chattered. Most of them were talking about whether they could tame some wind warcraft this time. If they could tame some wind warcraft to pull the chariot, it would be very cool. The wind warcraft was fast. More importantly, it was beautiful. If 4 of them could be used to pull the chariot, it would be quite impressive. Imperceptibly, The wind warcraft would be more powerful than many young masters and young ladies. Everyone would like such beasts. After flying for several hours, the battleship arrived at a huge valley. There were warriors guarding here. There was a sentry every 3 steps. An area with a radius of more than 3,000 miles was under martial law. Everyone, listen up. Standing in the valley, the patriarch looked at Lu Li and the others coldly and said, "Even though the situation in the wind warcraft is stabilized, there are still many wind warcraft. Most of you here will die if you encounter them. So, you must listen to my orders when you go in. Otherwise, you will be driven back immediately and reported to the Hall of Penalty." The young masters and young ladies nodded. Lu Qianqian stuck her tongue out mischievously. Lu Li remained expressionless and said nothing. Go. Chapter 2275. Wow, this world is amazing, right? How come I feel so light in this world? I don't even have to fly. I feel like I can float. Look over there. There are many stones floating in the air. The gravity here seems to be weak. We can go faster here. The wind here is strong. Is it because of the wind? Lu Li and the others found themselves in a strange world. They were in the middle of a barren mountain, surrounded by barren rocks. When Lu Li came in, he felt he was about to float. The gravity here was weak. Someone had to try. He leaped up without using divine energy and reached the sky. The wind here was strong. As soon as Lu Li came in, he felt he was about to be blown away. The light here was dim, and the temperature was on the cold side. It was strange. Don't wander around. A majestic voice came. Lu Li saw a familiar face. It was Patriarch Feng, the Vice Patriarch of the Hall of Warfare. He was sitting on a boulder with 5 patriarchs. Lu Li took a look around. There were many warriors and some ruins on the ground. This place must have been set up as a temporary base camp. Chief Patriarch and the others were nowhere to be seen. They must have gone to clean up the demons and beasts nearby. Under Feng Zhonglau's orders, everyone sat down obediently and waited quietly at the side. It smells so good. After a moment, they smelled a fragrance. It was so good that it was refreshing. Patriarch Feng yelled at once, "Hold your breaths. This is from a beast. If you smell it for a long time, your soul will be sucked into an illusion. You will become aroused. Brother Chun, go and have a look." Everyone held their breaths. The young ladies blushed, and they were taken aback. If they were to fall for it and tear off their clothes on the spot, they would be too ashamed to face anyone when they came back to their senses. They would commit suicide right away. Patriarch Feng didn't warn them again and again. It seemed that the beast was not strong. He also said that they could smell it for a long time. It should be fine. An elder led a group of soldiers over. After a while, they carried a fox-sized strange beast over. He threw it in front of everyone and said, "This strange beast is called the Soul Fragrance Beast. It is very common in the Wind Demon realm. Its combat power is not particularly strong, but as long as you pay attention to the fragrance and hold your breath, you will be fine." Lu Qianqian and the others immediately gathered around, their faces filled with curiosity. Lu Qianqian even took out her weapon and started poking at the corpse. Elder Feng and the rest did not care. On the surface, the few elders were sitting cross-legged, but in reality, they were constantly monitoring the situation around them. Lu Li sat quietly, waiting for Chief Patriarch and the others to come back. Lu Qianqian and the others gathered together and chatted. Yuan Lingyun looked at Lu Li, but didn't dare to come over and talk to him. Just like that, they waited for an entire day. The 3,000 soldiers had all arrived and were arranged by Elder Feng and the others to guard the vicinity. One day later, the Great Elder and the others returned. Old Chang, after the Grand Elder returned, he immediately waved his hands and commanded, "Arrange some divine inscriptions in the vicinity. The divine inscriptions here are still too weak. Children, stay here, be careful." "Okay, I will go and build a divine shield formation." An old man and several others got to work. Lu Li used the mark of Tao to observe secretly. When Patriarch Chang was done, Lu Li nodded. This patriarch was quite accomplished in the field of divine inscriptions. The power of the divine inscriptions was good. Buzzing, Luli secretly let Blood Fairy go into the ground to record the divine inscription. Given Blood Fairy's abilities, it wouldn't take her long to learn it. Next time, the divine inscription could be built. Luli's action caught many people's attention. Chief Patriarch threw him a glance, but said nothing. Patriarch Fong snorted, but said nothing. Blood Fairy walked around in the ground for a while before she came back and went back into Luli's body. Patriarch Fong snorted again and murmured, "Just some sneaky tricks." "All right, Fong." The Great Elder waved his hand and said, "I'll stay here for a while. You, Old Chong, and the others will split into 5 groups. Each group will have 6 people, and each group will have 500 soldiers. Also, bring the children with you and clear out the nearby areas one by one. If there's a chance, let the children practice. If there's anything, inform me immediately." "Okay." Patriarch Feng nodded. The young masters and young ladies were excited. With the patriarchs and so many warriors, they would be safe. Naturally, they would be excited to see the patriarchs in action and to show off their skills. Elder Chong was probably from the Grand Elder's faction. He pointed at Lu Qianqian and Yuan Lingyun and said, "Qianqian girl and Lingyun girl, follow me." Elder Chong. Divine Son, do you want to come with us?" Clearly, Chief Patriarch had told them about this. Lu Li and Yuan Lingyun looked at each other. They could tell from each other's eyes. Lu Li nodded and said, "Thank you, Patriarch Chong." Patriarch Chong should be strong, no weaker than Patriarch Feng. He had a kind face. That day at the Hall of Patriarchs, he didn't say a word. He chose several patriarchs and went to the north with 500 warriors, Lu Li, Lu Qianqian, Yuan Lingyun, and 7 or 8 young men. Lu Qianqian was very excited. She must be familiar with Patriarch Chong and the others. She kept asking questions along the way. Patriarch Chong spoiled her and answered everything he knew. Lu Li learned some information from him. There were a lot of wind magic beasts here, but the nearby wind magic beasts had all been cleared out. As long as they didn't move too quickly and clear them out bit by bit, there would be no danger. Wind warcraft did not live in groups. At most, they would run into several at a time. Patriarch Chong could deal with them by himself. Roar, roar. After advancing for an hour, a loud beast roar came from the sky in front of them. Following that, a huge boulder exploded in the sky, and a beautiful giant beast roared as it circled around. The beast was more than 100 feet long and blue in color. It looked like a Pegasus with a beautiful mane on its head, wings on its back, and a horn on its head. The horn was glowing in a blue light. Whoosh! The wind warcraft arrived in front of them in a blur. Patriarch Chong snorted. He took out a silver whip and lashed at the beast. Whoosh! The horn on the wind warcraft's head glowed in blue and hit the whip. The whip trembled and was slowed down. But Patriarch Chong shook his hand, and the whip sped up. Bang! Patriarch Chang's whip landed on the wind warcraft. The wind warcraft was smashed away and disappeared into the distance in a blur. However, it made a circle and dashed to the rear of the army in an instant. It was so fast that many people couldn't react. It is faster than the Ghost King, but it is not as powerful. Luli nodded. It seemed that the wind warcraft's attacks mainly relied on the rays of light from its horn. It had no claws, fangs, or other strange skills. Soon, Luli realized he was wrong. The wind warcraft flapped its wings. Suddenly, a gust of wind sprang up. Luli and the others were all lifted up into the air. Some couldn't control their bodies at all. They were tumbling around in the air. Chapter 2276. Luli wanted to push her away. After all, it was improper for men and women to touch each other. He didn't want to have anything to do with the young ladies of the palace of Rakshasa. Luli looked at her and realized it was Lu Qianqian, the pepper girl. She was panic-stricken. Luli didn't have the heart to push her away. Lu Qianqian came to her senses soon. She moved away, but she didn't let go of Lu Li's hand. She was shy and scared. Hundreds of people tumbled in midair. It was a spectacular scene. Of course, they were just caught off guard. Soon, someone could control himself and stabilize himself in midair. Whoosh! A whip shadow flew over and hit the wind demon beast again. This time, the whip was very heavy and left a deep bloody mark on the wind demon beast's body. The wind warcraft can control the wind so well. It is a mythical beast that is born to control wind. Luli stood in midair. Lu Qianqian had let go of him. She flew to Yuan Lingyun's side. Yuan Lingyun seemed to be smiling. Lu Qianqian was ashamed and angry, but she couldn't do anything. Many others were shocked as well. They were all warriors that had passed through 3 tribulations. Just now, they couldn't control their own bodies and were smashed into midair. This kind of uncontrollable situation was rare. Though it didn't bring them any harm, it was still horrifying. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Patriarch Chang's whip was like a whip of order. He kept lashing at the wind warcraft. Again and again, the wind warcraft was smashed away. Its wounds are getting worse, and it was slowing down. Brother Chun, Brother Yin. After a while, Patriarch Chang said something to the other 2 patriarchs. The 2 patriarchs flew up and attacked the wind warcraft together. Patriarch Chang began to build something nearby. Luli saw that Patriarch Chang was building another room plaza. This time, it should be an entrapment formation. Patriarch Chang is going to let the young masters and young ladies fight against the wind warcraft to gain experience. Luli nodded. The wind warcraft itself was not strong in attacks. Even though it was injured, it was fast. It was very suitable for training. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Patriarch Chang built a rune plaza. The 2 patriarchs' attacks became faster. At the same time, they forced the wind warcraft into the rune plaza. The divine inscriptions dojo lit up as a gigantic sphere of light over 10,000 meters appeared, enveloping the wind devil beast within. The sphere of light was covered in web-like patterns, and when the wind devil beast slammed into it, it immediately screamed in agony as it retreated. Xiao, Elder Chang rushed inside. This time, he put away his whip and took out a long sword. He released all of his aura. His figure was like a ghost as he rushed in front of the wind demon beast. With a flash of his long sword, he actually chopped off the wind demon beast's horn. Aluli rolled his eyes. The most horrifying thing about the wind warcraft should be its horn. Now that the horn was gone, the wind warcraft could still control the force of wind, but its lethality would be reduced. Was this kind of demonic wind beast still a monster? At best, it was just a toy. Patriarch Chang stepped back. He glanced over to Luli, Lu Qianqian, Yuan Lingyun, and the others and said, "You take turns to fight the wind warcraft. Get familiar with them. Next time, I will not cut off their horns. And you guys can try to see if you can subdue them. Whoever subdues them will own their beast. I will go first." Lu Qianqian immediately looked quite excited as she rushed into the circle of light. She held a red sword, and her body was covered with red battle armor, making her look incredibly majestic and heroic. Lu Qianqian was a 4th tribulation warrior. She was good in all aspects, but she lacked fighting experience. The wind warcraft had been badly injured. It was still difficult for her to fight. The wind warcraft's horn was cut off. It could only use the force of wind to attack. When it flapped its wings, there was a gust of wind inside. There were also wind blades flying around. Lu Qianqian's armor was strong in defense. The wind blades could not hurt her, but they could knock her back time and time again. Lu Qianqian tried many times. Unfortunately, the wind warcraft was too fast. Lu Qianqian felt it was like a gust of wind, drifting from side to side without any pattern. Lu Qianqian had been attacking for the time for half an incense stick to burn, but she couldn't hurt a hair of the wind warcraft. "Ha ha, Chili, come back." After an hour, Patriarch Chang said with a smile. Lu Qianqian had been attacking for such a long time, and she only managed to hit the wind warcraft once. It would be a waste of time if she went on. This monster's speed is too abnormal, and its movement technique is too strange. I'm going to die of anger. Lu Qianqian flew back, panting in anger. A young master flew over and fought with the wind warcraft at once. But this young master was only at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. He was beaten up by the wind warcraft. In the time for several incense sticks to burn, he came back with wounds all over his body. Luli didn't want to do anything, and neither did Yuan Lingyun. The other young masters and young ladies took turns, but their abilities were limited. It was almost impossible for them to hurt the Wind Warcraft. All they could do was to dodge. The patriarchs stood on the side with a smile. The warriors were watching with excitement as well. Usually, they never had the chance to see the young masters and young ladies being abused. The young ladies in particular had good figures and were pleasing to the eyes. All the young masters and young ladies had gone up. Only Yuan Lingyun and Luli were left. Patriarch Chong looked over. Seeing that Luli didn't want to make a move, Yuan Lingyun nodded and said, "I will go and have some fun." She flew up like a butterfly. A black bow appeared in her hand. The bow must be a piece of treasure because it was engraved with mysterious patterns, glistening. Buzzing, a ray of light rose in her eyes. She shot it into the Wind Warcraft. As soon as she arrived, she released her soul attack. At the same time, she pulled the bow open. 9 rays of light shot out like 9 dragons. Roar, roar, the Wind Warcraft roared. Yuan Lingyun's soul attack didn't bother it much. The Wind Warcraft sensed the threat from the 9 rays of light. The Wind Warcraft moved in midair, glided in an unbelievable curve, and dodged the attack. Phew, phew, it flapped its wings and gusts of wind blew over, sweeping Yuan Lingyun up into the air. At the same time, the sky was filled with wind blades that whistled over, enveloping Yuan Lingyun in an overwhelming manner. Whoosh, whoosh, while in midair, Yuan Lingyun kept pulling the bow open. Rays of light shot at the Wind Warcraft while she moved around in midair as well. The girl and the Wind Warcraft attacked and dodged. It was a beautiful scene, but clearly, neither of them could defeat the other. Many men were staring at Yuan Lingyun, their eyes revealing a look of infatuation. Yuan Lingyun was flying in the air. She looked like a fairy from the 9th heaven, so beautiful that it was suffocating. Watching her fight with the Wind Demon Beast was simply a visual feast. The Wind Warcraft is so powerful. If I can integrate it into my happy steps, then my body movement will be improved by leaps and bounds. Chapter 2277. Yuan Lingyun had been fighting for almost an hour. She was covered in sweat and her face was flushed. Many men could not help but stare at her. Yuan Lingyun's combat strength was much stronger than Lu Qianqian's. Her divine bow had hit the Wind Devil Beast many times, but the Wind Devil Beast defense was still quite good. Yuan Lingyun's attacks did not cause too much damage to it. Instead, as time passed, the Wind Devil Beast's injuries were constantly recovering. Since she could not hurt the Wind Warcraft, there was no point in continuing the fight. Therefore, Yuan Lingyun stepped back. She looked at Luli, who had his eyes closed, and asked softly, "God's son, do you want to go and have some fun? I think you're the only one who can defeat the Wind Warcraft." "Okay." Luli nodded. He suddenly opened his eyes, which were glaring. Using the happy steps, he flew up to the sky and approached the Wind Warcraft. Roar, roar, the Wind Warcraft bellowed and flapped its wings to attack Luli. Luli didn't release any attacks, nor did he release the apparition of the Phantom King. Instead, he did something strange. He wandered around in the air leisurely. Moreover, his eyes were still closed as he continued to fly in the air without stopping for a moment. He continuously stepped forward, and his figure flashed like a ghost, trying his best to avoid the wind blades that filled the sky. Bang, bang, bang. There were too many wind blades. Sometimes, Luli could not avoid them. When the wind blades landed on him, his robe would be cut open, but his body would remain unharmed. PFF, Lu Qianqian spat on the ground. Soon, Luli's robe was torn apart by the wind blades. He was only left with a pair of black trousers. His upper body was naked. That pair of trousers must be a piece of treasure, or else he would be naked now. There were 4 girls here, all of them unmarried. They blushed to see Luli in this state, but none of them looked away. Luli had a perfect body shape. He had broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His muscles were strong, just right. He didn't give people the impression that his muscles were weird. Instead, he had a strong sense of masculinity. Luli didn't care about that. He closed his eyes and activated the trace of Tao to sense the wind blades around him. He had an epiphany just now. He wanted to merge the Wind Demon Beast's movement technique with the carefree steps to advance the carefree steps. Now was the best time. The sky was filled with wind blades, and it was very suitable for him to practice his movement technique. He simulated the lines of the wind blades in his mind and turned himself into a dot. He was looking for a suitable route to successfully pass through these lines without being hit by the wind blades. His method was very effective. Although he was inevitably hit by the wind blades in the beginning, the number of times he was hit by the wind blades gradually decreased. His body's coordination was getting better and better, and his reaction was getting faster and faster. Towards the end, Luli released his dragon wings to increase his speed again. This would make it easier for him to be hit by the wind blades, but this was what Luli wanted. He needed to hone his body movements, not speed. This kid is cultivating his movement skill. Elder Chong swept a few glances and was slightly startled. The other elders were also shocked. It was understandable that Luli was studying body movements. What shocked them was the speed of Luli's progress. Clearly, Luli's body movements were improving rapidly. In the beginning, he was hit by the wind blades continuously. Now, only less than an hour had passed, and the wind blades could hardly hit him anymore. After another hour, Patriarch Chong and the others were shocked again. They realized that not only could Luli avoid all the wind blades, his speed was also increasing. Luli was already fast. He was so fast that the average warriors couldn't see him clearly. He was as fast as an average warrior of the Fourth Tribulation Realm, and even faster than Yuan Lingyun. It was already rare that the wind blades could not hit him at such a fast speed. Yet he was still increasing his speed. If it were not for the fact that Luli had suppressed his speed, then he must have learned something that could increase his speed. Soon, Yuan Lingyun and the others saw the problem as well. Yuan Lingyun and the others had fought with Luli before, so they knew his speed very well. Yuan Lingyun and Lu Qianqian looked at each other. Their eyes were wide open, and then their faces were filled with bitterness. Comparisons were odious. They thought they were geniuses, but compared to Luli, they felt they were nothing. Luli's Phantom King and Phantom Shadow were much faster than the two of them. Now, he could learn something by fighting with the Wind Warcraft and make rapid progress. Gradually, the other young masters and young ladies realized the problem. So did many warriors. Before, Luli's speed was only dazzling to them. Now, they couldn't see him at all. All they could see was a ray of light flying around in the wind blades. Okay, leave one of you here to keep an eye on him. We will go and find some other Wind Warcraft nearby. Patriarch Chong waved his hand. It seemed that Luli would not stop for a couple of days. He might not stop for 10 days or even half a month. There were so many of them, and they couldn't wait here forever. They were here to eliminate the Wind Warcraft, not just for Luli to gain experience. I will stay. Patriarch Chen nodded. Yuan Lingyun said after some thoughts, I will wait here as well. I want to see if I can learn something. Patriarch Chun was on the same side as Chief Patriarch, but Yuan Lingyun was still worried. If she stayed here, someone might try to assassinate Luli. She would have to be cautious. Okay. Patriarch Chong didn't say much. He led the warriors to the left. In just a couple of hours, they ran into another Wind Warcraft. This time, there were two of them. As usual, Patriarch Chong and two other patriarchs would attack the Wind Warcraft. After they injured the Wind Warcraft, Lu Qianqian and the others would go and have fun. Since there were two Wind Warcraft, Patriarch Chong asked the hundreds of warriors to take turns. As expected, Luli cultivated for 3 days before he stopped. After he smashed the Wind Warcraft away with one punch, he flew out of the halo and sat down with his legs crossed. He was relieved knowing that Patriarch Chun and Yuan Lingyun were here. He had learned something. Now, he needed to consolidate it. The strange body movements of the Wind Warcraft and the happy steps were somewhat integrated. The Wind Warcraft was born to control wind. The fundamental principle of wind was basically used for speed and body movements. If he could integrate it perfectly, not only would Luli's speed be increased, but his body movements would also be more flexible. He opened his eyes after sitting with his legs crossed for 2 days. He was a bit disappointed. This time, it was just a small gain. he still couldn't integrate the body movements of the Wind Warcraft and the happy steps completely. Maybe he didn't have enough understanding of the body movements of the Wind Warcraft. He needed time to study it and integrate it. How is it, Divine Son? Did you gain something? Yuan Lingyun asked with a smile when she saw Lu Li had woken up. Not much. Lu Li shook his head and said, my speed is 2 or 3 times faster than before. My body movements and soul are improved. It's a pity that I haven't learned something yet. Otherwise, my speed could be 10 times faster. Elder Chun and Yuan Lingyun both smiled awkwardly and didn't know how to continue the conversation. When one's power reached a certain level, it was harder to make rapid progress. It had only been a couple of days, but Lu Li's speed had increased by 2 or 3 times. How could he say it was not a big gain? How could they accept this? Chapter 2278. Deity, are you confident that you can tame the Wind Warcraft? Yuan Lingyun asked Lu Li about something else. She wanted to tame the Wind Warcraft, but she couldn't suppress it face to face. She believed the Wind Warcraft wouldn't surrender to her obediently. Lu Li, on the other hand, had smashed the Wind Warcraft away with one punch. Patriarch Chin's eyes glowed. He was hopeful. Many patriarchs had tried to tame the Wind Warcraft, but to no avail. The Wind Warcraft was not stupid. All powerful beasts had their own pride. It was not easy to tame them. But Lu Li was different. He had tamed a Phantom King. The reason why they brought Lu Li here was to see if he could tame the Wind Warcraft. 1 or 2 Wind Warcraft might not mean much. But what about dozens or hundreds? Even a warrior at the later stage of the Fourth Tribulation Realm would be smashed to smithereens if they were not careful. Lu Li threw a glance to the Wind Warcraft trapped in the Sacred Pattern Plaza. He pouted and said, let's forget about this one. The horn on its head has been cut off. Its abilities have been weakened. It won't be of much use. No, Patriarch Chun was worried. He explained at once, the horn can grow back. If it doesn't work, we can take out some elixirs. The horn will grow back soon. Oh, I will try. Lu Li was interested. He dashed into the Sacred Pattern Plaza. The Wind Warcraft roared and charged at him. The wind blades that filled the sky flew over again, and there were even more whirlwinds sweeping over. Lu Li used the footwork at ease and turned into a gust of wind. He dashed around in the air, dodged all the wind blades, and approached the Wind Warcraft. Boom! He punched at the Wind Warcraft, and it was smashed away. Lu Li rushed over and punched again and again. Admittedly, the Wind Warcraft was strong in defense. Lu Li's physical strength was horrifying. However, after more than a dozen punches, the Wind Warcraft was only injured. Lu Li kept on punching. Soon, the Wind Warcraft was badly wounded. Lu Li grabbed it with one hand and dragged it into the Wicked Bead. The reason why Lu Li could tame the Phantom King was not because of its abilities, but because Blood Fairy could communicate with the Phantom King. If he couldn't communicate with the Phantom King, it would be almost impossible for him to force it to submit to him. Blood Fairy was Lu Li's secret weapon. Naturally, he did not want Patriarch Chun and Yuan Lingyun to see it. Therefore, he forced the Wind Warcraft into the Wicked Bead. Huh. Yuan Lingyun and Patriarch Chun were taken aback. Then they looked forward to seeing if Lu Li could tame the Wind Warcraft. Both Phantom King and Ghost Shadow were in the Wicked Bead. After the Wind Warcraft was pulled in, it bellowed and tried to attack again. However, Phantom King's energy suppressed the Wind Warcraft in an instant. The Spectre King had the word King in his name. He was much stronger than the demonic Wind Beast. Most likely, he was on the same level as the demonic Wind King. The demonic Wind Beast instinctively felt reverence for the Spectre King. Boom, boom, boom. After Lu Li came in, he kept attacking the Wind Warcraft until it was at its last gasp. He even took out godly metal and released a sliver of divine might, causing the Wind Demonic Beast to become even more terrified. Buzzing, in the end, Lu Li released Worms of the Void. Tens of thousands of Worms of the Void went into the Wind Warcraft and started gnawing. This was what Lu Li did when he tamed the Spectre King. He wanted the Wind Warcraft to suffer. In the Wind Warcraft's eyes, Lu Li was not a puny human being, but a demon. He wanted the Wind Warcraft to fear, and dread him. Only in this way could he tame the Wind Warcraft. How could he tame it without destroying its pride? An hour later, the Wind Warcraft was at its last gasp. Luli let Blood Fairy into its body and began to communicate with it, asking it to surrender to Luli. The result was easy. In a time for half an incense stick to burn, the Wind Warcraft surrendered. It signed a soul contract with Luli and became his beast. It was not because Luli had tortured the Wind Warcraft, but because of the Spectre King. Even a powerful Spectre King had surrendered. The Wind Warcraft seemed to think it was not shameful to surrender to Luli. Buzzing, Luli fed some elixirs to the Wind Warcraft and came out from the wicked bead. Yuan Lingyun and Patriarch Qin's eyes glowed. Yuan Lingyun asked, "How did it go, Divine Son?" "Got it," Luli said. Patriarch Qin and Yuan Lingyun were taken aback. How did he do it so quickly? Elder Qin's eyes revealed a hint of bewilderment, as if he didn't believe it. Buzzing, Luli's wicked bead glowed as the Wind Warcraft came out. Luli waved his hand. The Wind Warcraft struggled to its feet, staggered to Luli, and knelt down. Impressive. Yuan Lingyun gave Luli a thumbs up. Patriarch Qin was envious. He could not help but ask, "Divine Son, how did you tame the Wind Warcraft so easily?" As soon as the question came out, Patriarch Qin felt he had misspoken. Yuan Lingyun rolled her eyes. This was Luli's personal skill. How could he tell others so easily? Luli did not mind. He said casually, "To tame the Wind Warcraft, you must destroy its pride as a powerful beast. Only by subduing it would it easily submit to you. After all, to them, humans are puny creatures." What Luli said was as good as not saying anything. The key to Luli was Blood Fairy. With her to communicate with the Wind Warcraft, he could achieve twice the result with half the effort. After all, humans could not communicate with beasts directly. Also, Luli had promised the Wind Warcraft that he would set it free after following him for 10,000 years. 10,000 years was not a long time for the Wind Warcraft. Let's go. Luli's interest was piqued after he tamed the first Wind Warcraft. He was in a hurry to build his own army of Wind Warcraft. If he could tame dozens or hundreds of Wind Warcraft, his abilities would be greatly enhanced. The three of them rushed toward Patriarch Chong. An hour later, they arrived. There were 2 Wind Warcraft trapped there. They were being tortured by some young masters, young ladies, and warriors in turns. Patriarch Chong had seriously injured the 2 Wind Warcraft. In this way, Lu Qianqian and the warriors would not be under so much pressure, and it would be easier for them to improve their abilities. The arrival of Lu Li and the others caught the attention of Patriarch Chong and the others. Patriarch Qin sent a message as soon as he came over. Patriarch Chang's eyes glowed. He laughed and said, "Congratulations, Divine Son. With this skill, you will have a group of free fighters." "Thank you, Patriarch Chong and the other patriarchs." Luli was humble. He cupped his fists and said, "Without your help, I would not have been able to tame the Wind Warcraft so easily. I can't thank you enough." At the Hall of Patriarchs, Luli showed off his abilities and was unruly. Patriarch Chong and the others were not used to his humble attitude, but they all enjoyed it. Patriarch Chong waved his hand and said, "This is not a big deal. Later, we will do our best to cooperate with you, Divine Son. We will get as many Wind Warcraft as you want." Wow. Chapter 2279. When the Wind Demon region was discovered, the Palace of Rakshasa had been trying to tame a large number of Wind Warcraft and build an army of them. The Wind Warcraft's attacks were unique. They could control the force of wind to affect their enemies. At the same time, their horns could release blue beams of light. If a group of Wind Warcraft released the beams together, the damage would be horrifying. Many patriarchs had tried their best, but failed to tame the Wind Warcraft. Therefore, Chief Patriarch came with a group of young masters and young ladies. He wanted Luli to have a try because he had a Ghost King. Who would have thought that it would actually succeed? Because of what happened to Tanlong, Luli and the 3 families were not on good terms. Luo Fian was trying to protect Luli, Chief Patriarch was trying to find a way to resolve the hatred between the two families. Enhancing Lu Li's abilities was one of the ways. If Lu Li was of great importance to the palace of Rakshasa, the three families wouldn't act rashly. Lu Li had the mysterious heaven talisman in him. Chief Patriarch was not worried about nurturing a tiger. The improvement of Lu Li's abilities was a good thing for the palace of Rakshasa. Patriarch Chong was Chief Patriarch's most trusted general. He could understand what Chief Patriarch was thinking. Now that Lu Li had tamed a wind warcraft, Patriarch Chong was happy. He told Lu Li to tame the other two wind warcraft at once. In just an hour, Lu Li had tamed the two wind warcraft. With the first wind warcraft, it was easier for the other wind warcraft to do so. The spirit intelligence of the wind demonic beasts was not bad, but it was still far inferior to a human's. Seeing that their companions had submitted, they readily followed the good advice. Lu Qianqian and the others were envious. They wanted to ask Lu Li, but they didn't dare since the patriarchs were here. Patriarch Chong took out some elixirs for Lu Li to treat the wind warcraft. Then, Patriarch Chong and the others moved forward to look for wind warcraft. Soon, they ran into a wind warcraft. Patriarch Chong injured the wind warcraft first. Then, Lu Li captured the wind warcraft and tamed it in the wicked bead. 10 days. In merely 10 days, there were 18 wind warcraft in Lu Li's wicked bead. The wind warcraft that was tamed didn't have their horns cut off. They were just badly injured, but they would recover soon after treatment. The horns on the heads of the three wind magic beasts also began to slowly grow. After marching continuously for 10 days, everyone felt somewhat tired. Elder Chong had them set up camp on a small mountain. After resting for a day, they would continue on their journey. The 500 warriors spread out and formed a circle. Lu Li and the patriarchs sat on the peak with their legs crossed. Lu Li went into the wicked bead to observe the wind warcraft for a while. He took a bath and changed his clothes. Then, he slept for half a day. Half a day later, he went out, but he received a voice transmission. Divine Son, do you have time? I want to buy you a drink. Lu Li took a look and saw a pagoda in the distance. The voice came from the pagoda. It was Lu Qianqian. The pagoda must be Lu Qianqian's interspatial artifact. Lu Li walked toward the pagoda after some thoughts. As he arrived, he felt a force pulling him into a hall. He had thought that there would be a few people inside, but Lu Qianqian was alone. Lu Qianqian was still wearing a red dress, but this time it was shorter, revealing her fair thighs. Her neckline was low as well. Lu Li could see her fair skin. She sat behind a square table with her legs crossed, pouring wine into a goblet. She smiled sweetly at Lu Li and said, "Divine Son, please sit down." Lu Li frowned. This banquet was like a feast at Hongmen. A man and a woman were alone. He didn't want to stir up any trouble. He had offended two great patriarchs and a patriarch of the Hall of Combat. He didn't want to offend the chief patriarch. In the palace of Rakshasa, the chief patriarch might not be the most powerful, but he must be second only to Luo Fian in terms of power. If Lu Li offended the chief patriarch, even if he could survive, he would be severely punished. Therefore, Lu Li said, "Lady Qianqian, how about we invite Lady Lingyun?" Lu Li's intention was clear. He didn't want to be alone with Lu Qianqian, and he didn't want to be involved in any scandals. Inviting Yuan Lingyun could avoid arousing suspicion. Haha. Lu Qianqian smiled. She looked up at Lu Li and said, "What? Are you afraid that I'm going to do something to you? I cannot defeat you. Divine Son, I'm just a weak girl and I'm not afraid. What are you afraid of?" Lu Qianqian tried to goad him into action. It was low level but effective. Lu Li curled his lips and sat down, right across from Lu Qianqian. He was tall, and Lu Qianqian was pouring wine. From this angle, Lu Li could see Lu Qianqian's fair breasts and her deep cleavage. She has a lot of body. Lu Li couldn't help but praise her. Even though Lu Qianqian was not as pretty as Yuan Lingyun, she was still a beauty. She was a simple-minded girl with a hot personality. Her body was even hotter. She was full of youthfulness and beauty. "Divine Son, drink up." Lu Qianqian handed over a goblet of wine and explained with a smile, "Divine Son, don't worry. There is no poison in the wine, and there are no special drugs in it. Just drink. Special drugs? Lu Li smiled lightly. He stared at Lu Qianqian and said, "If there are such drugs, I will not be the one to suffer, but you. Is that so?" Lu Qianqian stuck out her chest. She looked at Lu Li without showing any weakness and said, "I dare to give it to you. Divine Son, do you dare take it?" PFF. Lu Li had just taken a sip of wine when he spat it out. This little pepper was too unrestrained. "Are you sure she's an unmarried girl, and not a mature woman who's mixed in the brothel?" Lu Qianqian smiled beautifully. She handed over a handkerchief and said, "I am joking with you. Divine Son, don't get it wrong. This young lady is not such a casual person. Divine Son, if you really want it, go to my grandpa and propose. I will give it to you on the day of the wedding." Cough, cough, Lu Li coughed. He had to give it to this little pepper. She was hot. He had been through a lot of flirting. Now, he was blushing because of a virgin girl's flirting. Soon, Lu Li calmed himself down. He took a sip and went straight to the point. "Lady Qianqian, what can I do for you? Let's talk it out." "Then I won't hold back." Lu Qianqian put her hands on the table and leaned forward. In this way, her breasts were squeezed and about to pop out. From Lu Li's point of view, it was a beautiful sight. Someone with a weak mind would not be able to talk. Maybe Lu Qianqian did it on purpose, or she didn't notice. Her eyes glowed, and she said directly, "Divine Son, can you teach me the skill to tame the wind warcraft?" "Of course, I will pay a price for it. You can have anything you want. Even if you want me, it is possible." Cough, cough, Lu Li looked away in embarrassment. This little pepper was too unrestrained. He couldn't stand it anymore. She wanted to offer herself at the drop of a hat. Her flirting skills were the best. "It's not that I don't want to teach you." Lu Li refused directly. "It's just that you won't be able to use it even if I teach you. First of all, you must have a Phantom King to subdue the Wind Warcraft and let the Phantom King communicate with the Wind Warcraft. So, I am sorry, Lady Qianqian. I will leave now. I am afraid there will be a lot of rumors if I stay any longer." Chapter 2280. Haha. After Lu Li left, the inhibition formation in the side chamber glowed. A door was pushed open. A pretty girl walked out and sat down where Lu Li was. She looked at the fuming Lu Qianqian and teased. Our Qianqian beauties took the initiative to throw themselves into his arms. But who would have thought that they would be rejected? This man is too heartless. He has hurt our Qianqian's heart. "Sister Lingyun, how dare you tease me?" Lu Qianqian glared at Yuan Lingyun and said angrily, "Isn't this your bad idea? You asked me to seduce the Son of God. I have been disgraced. How can I face others in the future? How can you blame me for this?" Yuan Lingyun said, amused and annoyed at the same time, "You asked me how to make the Son of God give you the skill to tame Wind Warcraft. I said you could try seducing him. After all, you don't have anything good to offer, do you? I was joking when I asked you to seduce him. Even if you really wanna, you should be subtle. Who knows that you're so bold? Don't you know that subtle is beautiful? There must be a limit to seducing a man. You must make him feel moved and keep a distance so that he can never get close to you. Only in this way can you play with a man." "I don't know these things." Lu Qianqian rolled her eyes and said, "I think this is why all the men at the palace of Rakshasa are charmed by you. I cannot learn these things. But Sister Lingyun, I don't think it is good for you to be like this. Real good men do not like this. They think you're a social butterfly and too smart." "You have a point," Yuan Lingyun said with a bitter smile. "That is how the Son of God is. I can tell that when he looks at me, there is only a trace of appreciation for beauty. There is no passion and desire that a man looks at a woman. I think he is not interested in me at all. Does he not like pretty girls?" Lu Qianqian tilted her head and thought for a while. She shook her head and said, "No, I think he likes pretty girls. When he looks at my body, he will be attracted, but his will must be strong." "Yes," Yuan Lingyun said with certainty. "Our Son of God is not a playboy. He must have experienced many things. His will is strong and his mind is firm. He won't be controlled by anything, so seduction definitely won't work." "Then what should we do?" Lu Qianqian revealed a trace of distress. then there's no way to obtain the secret technique to tame a wind demonic beast from him. I want to control an army of wind demon beasts. There's a way. Yuan Lingyun smiled faintly and said, that is to become a true friend of the Divine Sun, a friend who will stay with you through life and death. Even if your grandfather wants to kill him, you have to stand in front of him. I'm sure he won't be stingy to gain his true friendship. This, Lu Qianqian's beautiful brows furrowed. Yuan Lingyun's suggestion was indeed a good idea. However, Luli was not accepted by the three families. She had a special identity. If she were to become friends with Lu Li, she would have to go against the three families. At that time, her grandfather would definitely be implicated. Was it really worth it for a secret skill? Lu Qianqian fell into deep thought, and so did Yuan Lingyun. She had been afraid to get close to Lu Li because she was afraid of offending the three families. A friend in need is a friend indeed. If she were to stay with Lu Li now, she would be able to gain his true friendship. But was it really worth it? Lu Li's evaluation of Yuan Lingyun was objective. She was an extremely smart woman. It was because she was so smart that she could think through everything, which made her less beautiful. Sometimes, one didn't have to consider too much about gains and losses when making friends. If they were friends because of interests, then would they be real friends? After a day of rest, they moved on. They ran into more wind demonic beasts and other beasts, such as the small ones that could release strange scents. The most powerful ones in the realm of wind demons were the wind demonic beasts. The other beasts were of low ranks and could be killed easily. Nobody paid much attention to them. After 7 or 8 days, Lu Li ran into another team. For the sake of safety, Patriarch Chong didn't reveal anything about Lu Li. They didn't stay in contact for long either. 2.5 months later, Lu Li had tamed 136 wind demonic beasts. Lu Li stopped today, not because he thought there were too many, but because he felt something was wrong with his soul. Every time he made a contract with a wind demonic beast, Lu Li would send some soul energy into the wind demonic beast. He had 136 wind demonic beasts under his control, so he had to send 136 of his soul energy. This was not regular soul energy, but the source of soul energy. His soul was not particularly strong, but he could manage. He had reached the limit of taming beasts. If he went on, his soul would be affected, and even his cultivation would be affected. Lu Li told Patriarch Chong about the situation. Patriarch Chong was disappointed. He even took out a powerful pellet of soul from his interspatial ring for Lu Li to consume. It would take time for the soul to grow unless Lu Li consumed the best pellets of soul continuously. But where in the world could there be so many? Even the palace of Rakshasa could not supply them for a long time. More than 100 will do. Patriarch Chong nodded. He had an idea. Pointing to a huge mountain in the distance, he said, Divine Sun, how about we release all the wind demonic beasts? How about we attack that mountain? Of course, of course. Lu Qianqian clapped her hands in excitement. She had been wanting Lu Li to release the wind demonic beasts to test the effect, but Lu Li never agreed. Now, that Patriarch Chong had spoken, Lu Li must do it. Okay, Lu Li nodded. He flew up and took out the wicked bead. The wicked bead glowed as wind demonic beasts came out one after another. The wind demonic beasts had recovered from their wounds. They lined up neatly, their might spread out, making the surrounding space feel suffocated. One by one, the wind demonic beasts were teleported out. When more than 100 wind demonic beasts came out, Lu Li waved his hand. All the horns on the heads of the wind demonic beasts glowed. Whoosh, 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 more than 100 rays of blue light shot out almost at the same time. In an instant, the entire sky lit up. Everything disappeared in front of everyone's eyes except for the blue light. More than 100 beams of blue light shot out and instantly arrived at the huge mountain range in front of them. Boom, 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 a huge mountain range instantly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The mountain range was completely flattened, leaving only the billowing smoke and dust in the sky. That scene gave people the feeling that a great emperor had made a move. That is horrifying. Everyone, including Patriarch Chong, was stunned. Patriarch Chang recalled the previous move. He wondered if he could survive if all the wind demonic beasts were to attack him. Yes, the answer was obvious. He could survive, given his abilities, but he believed that he would be injured. Chapter 2281. Luli put away all the wind warcraft and flew back. Everyone looked at him in a different way. Before, they only respected him for his identity as the Chosen One. Now, there was a trace of fear in their eyes. Wind Warcraft was not Lu Li's real ability, but this world did not care about the process, only the result. No matter what methods you use, as long as you can kill the enemy, everyone will recognize your combat strength. If Luli could kill an emperor with some beasts, then he would be a well-deserved emperor. People only cared about results and didn't care about means. For example, if you were a defenseless civilian, if you could poison an emperor or any enemies, then everyone would be afraid of you and would recognize your abilities. There was a 5-poison sect in the third heaven. The warriors here were not at high realms, but they were the best in poisons. Nobody would think the 5-poison sect was weak. Instead, they were more afraid of them. Patriarch Chang decided to go back with the team now that Luli could no longer control the Wind Warcraft. During this time, the young masters, young ladies, and warriors had all gained a lot of experience. Fighting with the Wind Warcraft could no longer help them improve. It was pointless to bring them along. It would be more convenient to send them back to the Patriarchs. Luli had more than 100 Wind Warcraft, so Patriarch Chang was not worried that Luli would do something reckless. Patriarch Chang knew that Luli had the mysterious heaven talisman in his soul. Also, when Luli fought with Tan Long and the others, he didn't kill anyone. From this, Patriarch Chang could tell that Luli had a bottom line. Now that Luli was stronger, Rain Demon would have more concerns and wouldn't do anything rash. With time, Luli would grow. In the future, the Palace of Rakshasa would have another general. Imagine if the Palace of Hell and the Palace of Rakshasa were at war again. If Luli was sent out and the Wind Warcraft was released, even 100,000 warriors would be vaporized in an instant. Luli's Wind Warcraft was suitable for group fights. What was more, the Wind Warcraft could use more than just their horns. They could use skills related to wind as well. It was faster to go back. Luli and the others took a detour. In just half a month, they were back at the base camp. Chief Patriarch didn't stay here. He went back to the Palace of Rakshasa. In just 3 months, a city had been built in the base camp. Although it was still very simple and some castles were still being built, it was estimated that it would not be long before a big city like Heavenly River City appeared here. The warriors were settled in the city. Patriarch Chang showed Luli and the others to a castle and asked them if they wanted to stay or go back to the Palace of Devils. Lu Qianqian and the others were tired of staying here. Naturally, they wanted to go back. Luli was in a hurry to go back to improve his soul, so Patriarch Chang asked Patriarch Chun to teleport them out. After some twists and turns, they arrived at the Palace of Demons. Before Luli could go back, he was summoned by Chief Patriarch. This was the first time that Chief Patriarch had summoned him alone. The place where the Great Elder summoned him was in the Elder's Hall, but it was a side hall beside it. There was no one inside, only the Great Elder. "Greetings, Grand Elder." Luli bowed to Chief Patriarch with respect. Chief Patriarch waved his hand, pointed to a stool next to him, and said, "Sit down." Luli sat down. There was a maid serving him tea, but he didn't touch it. He stared at Chief Patriarch, waiting for his instructions. Chief Patriarch's hair was gray, but he didn't look old. He seemed to be an old-fashioned and dignified man. He looked at Luli and said, "You can tame the Wind Warcraft. This is a good thing for both you and the Palace of Demons. I must congratulate you on this." "Thank you, Chief Patriarch." Luli stood up, cupped his fists, and said, "It is all thanks to Patriarch Chang. Otherwise, I would not have tamed the Wind Warcraft." "Don't be modest." Chief Patriarch waved his hand and said, "Even without Patriarch Chang's help, you could have tamed the Wind Warcraft by yourself. But it will be more difficult. But if we don't allow you to go in, you'll not be able to tame one Wind Warcraft. I hope you can understand this." "Of course." Luli nodded and waited for Chief Patriarch's next words. Chief Patriarch's expressions grew solemn as he warned, "So, God's son, I don't want you to use the wind warcraft to deal with our own people. Every time you use them and you hurt one person, I will kill you myself. I have reported this to our master, and she has approved of my suggestion." Luli's expressions grew solemn. He thought about it and asked, "What if someone in the palace wants to kill me? I cannot use them?" "No," Chief Patriarch said coldly. "You can use other means, but not the wind warcraft. If someone wants to kill you, you can try to run away at once. No matter who it is, our master and I will stand up for you, provided that you are not the one who started it." "I see." Luli nodded and said seriously, "Don't worry, Chief Patriarch. I will not do anything rash." "Okay," Chief Patriarch said with relief. "You have just arrived at the Palace of Demons, and you haven't fully integrated yet. I hope you can treat this place as your home. Also, are there any girls in the palace that you like? I can be your matchmaker. You can settle down here and start a family. People in the palace will recognize you more." Settle down? Luli was speechless. Chief Patriarch was going to be his matchmaker? It seemed that he wanted to tie Luli down and make him settle down at the Palace of Demons. As long as he had a family here, he would probably stay in Luosha Palace peacefully. Because he had a family, he would have scruples in doing things. What a good plan, Luli exclaimed to himself. If he were to marry Yuan Lingyun or Lu Qianqian, Chief Patriarch wouldn't say anything. On the contrary, he would be happier. The Palace of Demons was full of powerful figures, and Chief Patriarch was one of them. If Luli married Yuan Lingyun or Lu Qianqian, then he would be on the same side as Chief Patriarch. Luli could not make up his mind. He wanted to leave this place by all means possible. After some thoughts, he bowed and said, "Thank you, Chief Patriarch. I'm not mentally prepared for this yet. There are so many good girls in the palace. I need to get in touch with them. If I need them in the future, I will ask Chief Patriarch to be my matchmaker." Luli didn't give a definite answer. He even said that he wanted to spend more time with the Wind Warcraft to reassure Chief Patriarch. Chief Patriarch stroked his beard and said, "Okay, you can go back now. Cultivate your soul during this time. You have tamed so many Wind Warcraft. Don't let it affect your future cultivation." Oh, when Luli was about to leave, Chief Patriarch remembered something and said, "For months from now, it will be the 100,000th birthday of the Mu family patriarch. I will go in person. Qianqian and Lingyun will be there as well. I think all the big shots of the Demon Sea and many young talents will be there. Do you want to go with us and broaden your horizons?" The birthday of the Mu family patriarch? Li's eyes glowed. He reacted quickly and added, "Qianqian and Lingyun as well? Okay, I will go with Chief Patriarch to broaden my horizons. I will send someone to inform you later. You can go back now." Chief Patriarch waved his hand. Luli walked out of the Hall of Patriarchs while suppressing his joy. He could no longer suppress the joy in his eyes after he walked out. Yuan Lingyun said that some people of the Mu family knew how to crack the mysterious heaven talisman. Luli didn't know how to get in touch with the Mu family. Now, Chief Patriarch had given him a golden opportunity. The 9 strange mountains. Luli made up his mind. If the Mu family could crack the mysterious heaven talisman for him, he would even be willing to return the 9 strange mountains to the Mu family. As long as the mysterious heaven talisman was cracked, he could leave the Demon Sea at once. Chapter 2282. Is this a scheme? Luli calmed down after he went back to his own manor. He thought of something. Yuan Lingyun told him that the Mu family could solve the mysterious heaven talisman. Who was Yuan Lingyun? She was the last disciple of Chief Patriarch. It was because of Chief Patriarch that Yuan Lingyun was where she was today. If it were not for the fact that she was Chief Patriarch's disciple, how could she have her current status? She would have been harmed by Ning Ao, and Tanlong Yuan Lingyun was indebted to the Chief Patriarch. It was not impossible for her to report the matter of Li to the Chief Patriarch. If Chief Patriarch learned of this, he would take Li to the Mu family on purpose and secretly send someone to monitor him. Once he found evidence that Li was colluding with the Mu family, then Lu Li would be dead for sure. But on second thoughts, Lu Li realized it was unlikely. First of all, Yuan Lingyun must be yearning for the position of a mortal lady. Lu Li leaving was not a big deal for the palace of Rakshasa. It was not a big loss. It was just that it would not look good. Chief Patriarch would not deliberately try to kill Lu Li. Lu Li and Chief Patriarch had no grudges. More importantly, Chief Patriarch was trying to win Lu Li over to his side. If Chief Patriarch knew that Lu Li was leaving, then what was the point of trying to win him over? To calm him down first? Also, if Chief Patriarch knew that Lu Li was leaving, he would not let Lu Li go to the realm of wind devils, nor would he let Lu Li tame the wind warcraft. Therefore, the trip to the Mu family was worthwhile. Lu Li was excited after he thought it through. He could not wait to go to the Mu family. He wanted to leave the palace of Rakshasa, the sea of Rakshasa, and go to the chilly winterland. He began to consume the elixir given to him by Patriarch Chong. His soul was too weak. He needed to nourish and improve as soon as possible. Otherwise, his soul would be affected by the wind warcraft, and his cultivation would be affected. This was a top-level elixir. As soon as Lu Li consumed it, he could feel his soul growing. This was rare. Usually, the growth of soul-nourishing elixirs would be slow. After refining this stock of godly medicine for 5 whole days, his soul had clearly grown. His soul had originally been affected by the wind demon beast, but now it was completely fine. "This is good," Lu Li exclaimed. If he could keep consuming such top-level elixirs, then his soul would grow rapidly. His soul had always been his shortcoming. If not for the dragon soul, his soul would have been destroyed countless times. Lu Li checked the wind warcraft and noticed that they were all staying in the wicked bead. Lu Li was troubled by the wicked bead. This bead was not a high-grade treasure. If it was destroyed, the space inside would explode, and the wind demon beasts inside would all be strangled by the power of spatial distortion. The mountain was a good interspatial artifact, but it could not be used at will. It could be exposed. Also, this time, Lu Li planned to trade with the Mu family. If he wanted the Mu family to work for him, he would have to pay the price. If the Mu family helped him, they would defend the Luosha Palace. How could they help him without paying a huge price? Lu Li had quite a lot of treasures with him, but he could not trade for godly iron or godly speedboat. The Mu family was not interested in average treasures. The 9 mysterious mountain was of little value to Lu Li because he could not find the other mountains. The 9 mysterious mountain was not a complete sovereign weapon. It was not of much use. Besides, the 9 mysterious mountain was so famous that it could be easily exposed. Powerful warriors would hunt him down, which could lead to more troubles. Lu Li made up his mind. Looking at the wind warcraft, he went to Jian Xiong and asked, "Jian Xiong, go and find out what the wind warcraft likes to eat." Yes. Jian Xiong left at once. Phantom King and Lu Li had some spring water. Jian Xiong could drink from time to time. Ghost Shadow was a ghost, so he did not have to worry about it. Occasionally, Worms of the Void and Gu King would feed them some beasts. The more than 100 wind warcraft would be Lu Li's powerful helpers in the future. Lu Li did not want anything to happen to them. Therefore, he had to find out the truth about the wind warcraft. He returned to continue cultivating. After an hour, Jian Xiong returned. However, he wasn't alone. Behind him was an enchanting beauty, Yuan Lingyun. Lu Li knew that Yuan Lingyun would not come without a reason. He welcomed her in and asked Jian Xiong to stand guard outside. He asked a maid to serve tea, activated the inhibition formation, and asked, "Lady Lingyun, is there anything good this time?" "Haha," Yuan Lingyun said with a smile. "Jian Xiong is going to find out about the wind warcraft, right? I happen to have some information here. My master asked me to bring it here, so I am here to bring it to you." A pillow when he was sleepy. Lu Li took over the information and glanced at it. He cupped his fists and said gratefully, "Thank you. I need it. But the wind warcraft likes to eat black bamboo shoots. I don't have any. Where can I find them?" "I have them here." Yuan Lingyun took out an interspatial ring and threw it to Lu Li. "There are 10,000 black bamboo shoots here. It should be enough for your wind warcraft to eat for 3 to 5 years. Well, my master asked me to bring this to you. Go back and thank Chief Patriarch for me." Luli cupped his fists. It seemed that Chief Patriarch wanted to rope him in and had prepared everything for him. If it were not for the fact that Luli wanted to leave the Rakshasa Palace, it would be a good choice to go to Chief Patriarch. My master has told you about the Mu family, right? Yuan Lingyun brought up another matter. Luli nodded and she continued, "This is a good chance. I know the goddess of the Mu family. If she can solve the mysterious heaven talisman, then it will be easy. But, judging from the current situation, you're doing well at the Rakshasa Palace. Do you have to leave? As for the position of goddess, I don't particularly desire it right now." "I have to," Luli said seriously. "I need to go to the Flying Fire Continent. I don't want to stay at the Rakshasa Palace for a second longer." "Flying Fire Continent?" Yuan Lingyun murmured in disbelief. "Deity, do you know where the Flying Fire Continent is? Do you know how far it is?" "I do." Luli forced a smile and said, "I know everything, but I have to go. I have a family there, and I must find her." "Okay." Yuan Lingyun was a bit upset. She thought about it and said, "The Mu family is at the north of the Rakshasa Sea. After you solve the talisman, fly to the north. You should be able to get away with the god boat before the Rakshasa Palace can react. During this period of time, I will think about how to explain this to the Mu family's goddess. The Mu family will not easily help me with this matter. Also, I need to figure out a strategy, or else I will be in trouble as well when they find out." "You will not be in trouble." Luli waved his hand and said, "You just need to introduce me to the goddess and ask her to arrange a place for me. This is not against the rules. I will talk about the rest, and I will do it. You don't have to worry about anything. Do you understand?" But Yuan Lingyun frowned and said, "They will not help you easily. After all, you're not friends with them. I will talk to their goddess, and then I will solve the talisman for you. I have something they want." Luli said with pride, "Don't worry about it. Do as I say. Don't tell anyone about this, or it will affect you." "Okay." Yuan Lingyun took a deep breath and stared at Luli for a while. Then she turned around and left. She looked a bit lonely. P.S. Chapter 5 is up. Also, what do you think of the real Chi Shi'er that was updated on Weibo? I think it is charming, very similar. Chapter 2283. Luli didn't go out for several months. He had been cultivating. He was about to go to the Mu family. He wanted to master the dragon skill so that he would be safer when he ran away. The Mu family was at the north, not far away from the Devil Sea. That being said, other patriarchs would go with the chief patriarch. Once something happened, Luli would have to run for his life. The more he could fight, the better his chance of survival. He went to the Hall of Internal Affairs and asked for some elixirs for body refinement. He was about to leave. He would take as many elixirs as he could get. It would all be worth it. Since Luli had dozens of wind warcraft under his control, the Hall of Internal Affairs valued him very much. They gave him all the elixirs he asked for. A deputy master of the Hall of Internal Affairs was very polite to him. Back at the yard, Luli cultivated. He activated the inhibition formation and ignored everything else. Jian Xiong would inform him if anything happened. While consuming the elixirs, Luli refined his bones. His progress in bone refinement was slow. Without the help of special elixirs, it would take dozens or even hundreds of years for his bones to change color again. Cultivation knew no time. Nothing happened at the Palace of Devils. The war with the Hell Palace had stopped. Most of the patriarchs had come back. Only a few patriarchs stayed outside to run branches and restore the destroyed bases. During this time, all the young masters and young ladies had quieted down. They either cultivated or went to different secret realms to cultivate. Luli, a warrior of the Second Tribulation Realm, was about the same age as them. He was even younger than some of them. But now, he could defeat an average patriarch. They felt humiliated. They were competing with each other secretly. After all, the patriarchs of their families were all famous, powerful warriors. It was rare for the Palace of Devils to have peace. Rain Demon and the others didn't do anything either. Luli had dozens of wind warcraft under his control. Rain Demon and the others must have seen Luli's potential. Master would value someone like him. To do anything rash would infuriate Luo Fian. Several months passed by quickly. The birthday of the patriarch of the Mu family was coming. The age of 100,000 was a round number. The patriarch of the Mu family was a legend. The Mu family was not particularly powerful. Since the birth of the patriarch of the Mu family's reputation grew. It could be said that Old Master Mu was one of the strongest people in Devil's Sea, and his overall combat power should not be weaker than Luo Fian's. After the birthday, the Old Master of the Mu family also said that he would retire and pass the position of patriarch to his eldest son. Naturally, the Mu family attached great importance to this birthday. During this period of time, there was almost no fighting in Rakshasa Sea. Originally, there were a few small forces fighting, but the Mu family forcefully intervened and made them stop fighting. Countless invitations had been sent out a long time ago. The Mu family had invited the leaders of various forces. Luo Fian and the others would naturally not go, but to be able to send the great elder over, this showed Luo Fian's attitude. Of course, it was impossible for there to be no young people in this kind of event. Many of the younger generation of the various clans had been dispatched, and Devil Palace had selected more than 30 young, outstanding talents to attend. These young people would be the mainstay of the Rakshasa Palace in the future. Sooner or later, they would become the rulers of the Rakshasa Palace. Go out and see more of the world and get to know the young masters and young ladies of the other clans so that it would be easier to deal with them in the future. They opened the space gate directly, but they were not going to Mu Emperor's Island of the Mu family, but a big island next to it. This was a show of respect to the Mu family. They wouldn't resort to violence, even though the palace of Rakshasa Palace and the Hell Palace had just started fighting, and the palace of Rakshasa Palace and the Mu family had fought before. But this time, the families wouldn't act rashly. Whoever made the old master of the Mu family unhappy, the Mu family would make them suffer for a long time. Therefore, the number of powerful warriors sent by the families was limited. The chief patriarch came with 9 patriarchs and 10 patriarchs, which was just enough for them to protect themselves and not put pressure on the Mu family. Luli came out from cultivation. His soul had improved a lot, and his physical body was improved, but it was not obvious. There was still no progress on the dragon skill. Luli was numb to it. He couldn't be impatient. He tidied himself up and changed into the clothes of the Chosen One. Instantly, he looked more spirited and extraordinary. He strode out. Jian Xiong wanted to go with him, but Luli waved his hand and said, "There are so many patriarchs going. You don't have to go. Stay at home." Jian Xiong wanted to join the fun. He said with hidden bitterness, "Chosen One, let's go. You need to be ostentatious. We cannot lose our dignity." Luli didn't want to implicate Jian Xiong. If Jian Xiong went, but Luli slipped away, Jian Xiong would be torn apart by the furious patriarchs. Therefore, Luli said with determination, "What ostentatious? Even the chief patriarch is going. It is not my turn to do anything. Stay at home. This is an order." With that said, Luli strode toward the Hall of Patriarchs. Jian Xiong and the others had to stay. When Luli arrived at the Hall of Patriarchs, a group of young masters and young ladies were waiting outside. They were all excited. Young people were always full of expectation and curiosity about new things. Luli took a look. One of the young masters had reached the 4th tribulation realm. That young master was surrounded by a group of people. His face was glowing. Clearly, he was proud of himself. The other young masters and young ladies that could go were at least at the peak of the 3rd tribulation realm. Many of them were disciples of patriarchs with real power. When Luli walked over, he became the center of attention. Everyone turned to him. "Greetings, Chosen One." Yuan Lingyun took the lead and saluted. The others followed suit. Who dared to disrespect Luli now? The story that Luli released dozens of Wind Warcraft and smashed a huge mountain had been spread out. Luli had secured his position as the Chosen One with his powerful abilities and ruthless style. Nobody dared to disobey him. Luli nodded. He was as cold as before. He stood on the side, waiting in silence. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, the gate of the Hall of Patriarchs was opened. Chief Patriarch came out with 9 other patriarchs. "Is everyone here?" Chief Patriarch scolded after a few glances. You are representing the palace of Rakshasa on this trip. You must be courteous, and you must not make any trouble. Everything must be reported. If anything goes wrong, you will be punished severely when you come back. Do you understand? They all nodded. Chief Patriarch turned to Lu Li and added, Chosen One, the goddess of the Hell Palace will go this time. I know you have some old scores with her, but this time we are going to the Mu family. Making trouble is a provocation to the Mu family. I hope you can restrain yourself. Suyuachin, Lu Li smiled and cupped his fists. Chief Patriarch, don't worry. As long as she doesn't do anything to me, I will put up with it even if she scolds me. Not necessarily. Chief Patriarch waved his hand and said, You are our chosen one. If she scolds you, it is the same as scolding the palace of Rakshasa. You can scold her back. As long as she doesn't provoke you, you cannot provoke her. As long as you are in the right, you can fight back appropriately. Of course, you must inform us as soon as possible. You must know when to stop. Okay, I understand. Lu Li grinned. His smile made the young master's and young lady's hair stand on end. This chosen one was unyielding. Back in the days, he held Suyuachin hostage and killed 3 of the best young masters at the palace of Rakshasa. The 3 young masters all came back alive. The 3 families must have done something behind the scenes. But the 3 young masters were all lying in bed now, and their minds were traumatized. Chapter 2284. Heavenly Grazing Island. This was one of the 5 large islands occupied by the Mu family. As the descendants of Emperor Mu, although the Mu family had already perished and split apart, they were still the family of the great emperor, and a dead camel was still bigger than a horse. It was like the Blood Eagle family. Even if they were broken up and the family was destroyed, some of the survivors could still dominate an area. This was the case with the Mu family. Back then, a branch family escaped, and now they could do whatever they wanted at the Devil's Sea. The Heavenly Grazing Island was crowded today as people kept coming. Those who were close to the island took battleships, and those who were far away took teleportation formations. Big families and powerful warriors came by opening space gates. Chief Patriarch of the Mu family came with a group of powerful warriors. They came to the Heavenly Grazing Island half a month ago to welcome the guests. Many of the young generation of the Mu family came as well to welcome the young masters and young ladies of other families. Buzzing, a crack appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Grazing City. A golden gate appeared in midair. The city was bustling with noise and excitement. It must be a super family that could open space gates. Who was it this time? Whoosh! Silhouettes came out one after another. The people in the city glanced at them, and their faces immediately became solemn. The first person who came out had an aura as vast as the sea and was ridiculously strong. It was the great elder of Luosha Palace. Whoosh! The chief patriarch of the Mu family flew up with some warriors, and so did the holy lady of the Mu family with a young man. Ha ha ha! Chief patriarch of the Mu family, Mu Wanyun, laughed and said, Brother Lu, we haven't seen each other for decades. This is not my father's birthday, so I can't invite you. You must stay here for a while. Chief Patriarch cupped his fists and said with a smile, Brother Wanyun, congratulations. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since we last met. I'm going to stay here for a long time as well. Brother Wanyun, Brother Fengzhan. The patriarchs greeted each other and exchanged pleasantries. Many years ago, this group of patriarchs had fought each other to the death. Now, they seem to be good friends. Lu Li was speechless. Ying, go and entertain the young masters and young ladies of the palace of Rakshasa for me. Mu Wanyun nodded to Lu Li and the others. He looked at a girl in a white dress who was as beautiful as Yuan Lingyun. However, their temperaments were very different. Yuan Lingyun was like a colorful flower, while this person was like a pure snow lotus. He was clean and made people feel very comfortable. Sister Lingyun, Sister Chanqian. Mu Ying brought a group of people and flew over. She first bowed to the 2 of them, looking very obedient and lovable. She looked at Lu Li, bowed again, and said, You must be God Lu, who has been rising to fame recently. Lu Li had a favor to ask of this goddess of the Mu family, so he treated her nicely. He cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Greetings, Goddess Mu. I have heard so much about you. Now that I have met you, I am sure that you live up to your reputation." Hee hee. Lu Qianqian mischievously held onto Mu Yingying's hand and said, "Divine Son, Big Sister Yingying is a goddess in countless people's hearts. If you can bring Big Sister Yingying back to Rakshasa Palace, I bet all the men in Rakshasa Sea will be envious of you." Ha ha ha. Lu Li laughed. Mu Yingying's cheeks blushed. But she didn't scold Lu Qianqian because she knew this was her personality. She glared at Lu Qianqian and said to Lu Li, "God Lu, people of the Rakshasa Palace are so rude. Why don't you do something about it?" Ha ha ha. Lu Li laughed again. He waved his hand and said, "Qianqian is a tyrant of the Rakshasa Palace, a famous enchantress. Who dares to control her?" In just a few words, they had become closer. Mu Wanyun left with the patriarchs. Mu Yingying asked the others to fly to the side chamber. A banquet had been prepared to welcome the Rakshasa Palace. Mu Yingying was a fourth tribulation heaven immortal. There were 5 warriors of the young generation of the Mu family. Including Lu Li, there were 4 from the Rakshasa Palace. If Ning Ao, Tanlong, and Hu Qianjun were here, the Rakshasa Palace would be full of talents. Now, they seemed to be weaker. They were all from wealthy families. It was easy for them to socialize. A few words could liven up the atmosphere. Lu Li had a favor to ask, so his attitude surprised the Rakshasa Palace. Where was that aloof god? Did he really like Mu Yingying? Lu Li didn't ask Yuan Lingyun to talk to Mu Yingying right away. There were so many people coming these days that Mu Yingying didn't have time to talk to him. It was better to wait until they got to the Mu Emperor Island and all the guests settled down before they could talk in secret. It had to be said that Mu Yingying was a very attractive woman. She and Yuan Lingyun each had their own merits, especially the pure and holy aura on her body. It made people feel especially comfortable. The few young masters of Luosha Palace kept staring at her. They knew very well that Mu Yingying could not marry out of the family, and she could marry a son-in-law who married into the family. Still, they could not help but fantasize. Yuan Lingyun became the target of the young masters of the Mu family. Yuan Lingyun could marry out of the family. If they could win her heart, not only would they get a beauty, they would gain fame and their status in the family. Buzzing, the banquet went on for an hour before the sky began to tremble again. A golden gate appeared in the sky. Mu Yingying glanced over, stood up, and said apologetically, "Brother Lu, Lingyun, and Qianqian, please take a seat. I will go out and receive them." Lu Li waved his hand. His psychic power was focused on the golden gate. When he saw some familiar faces inside, he grinned. People from the Hell Palace were here. Lu Li didn't know the patriarch leading the team, but second Patriarch Meng was here. Sui Waqin was here. There were several other young masters and young ladies that Lu Li didn't know. There were 6 fourth tribulation warriors among them. Mu Wanyan came out to greet them. They exchanged greetings for a while, and then the young and old separated. Mu Yingying flew down with Sui Waqin and the others. But she didn't go to Lu Li's manor. Instead, she went to a manor next door. When Sui Waqin flew past this manor, she suddenly looked into the manor. Through the gate, she made eye contact with Lu Li, who was sitting in the host seat. In an instant, Sui Waqin was filled with killing intent. Her eyes became cold like an enraged lioness. Mu Yingying and the others stopped. She said with a pleading look, "Sister Qin, can you do me a favor?" Sui Waqin must have been told before she came. She suppressed her killing intent and snorted. "If this were not the heaven-grazing island, I would make him regret being born." Sui Waqin's voice was not low. Lu Li and the others could hear it clearly. The young masters and young ladies from the Hell Palace stared at Lu Li with hatred as if he were their father's murderer. Last time, Lu Li made a scene at the Hell Palace and became the holy son of the Palace of Rakshasa, which was a slap on the face of the Hell Palace. Everyone from the Hell Palace hated Lu Li and wished they could cut him into pieces. As long as Lu Li was alive, the shame of the Hell Palace would never be washed away. Su Yuechin's words made Yuan Lingyun and the others inside look gloomy. The young masters of Devil Palace revealed faint killing intent in their eyes. Although the Hell Palace had more Fourth Tribulation warriors among the younger generation, they were not afraid. Ha. Chapter 2285. Luli knew very well that they could not fight at the Mu family. It was the birthday of the patriarch of the Mu family. Everyone would respect the patriarch of the Mu family. Otherwise, if the patriarch of the Mu family was not happy, the Mu family would make them unhappy. Respect was mutual. If Luli didn't respect the Mu family this time, the Mu family would not do the same next time. Also, the patriarchs of both sides were here. There was no way they could fight. Since they couldn't fight, Luli was not afraid of verbal sparring. Not to mention that Su Yuechin was held hostage by him and her elixir was destroyed. Warriors of the Hell Palace were inferior to him. He had been living a good life at the Hell Palace. It was because of Su Yuechin that he made so many troubles. He was almost killed by the Hell Palace. If it weren't for Luo Fian, he would have become a dead body. Therefore, he had no good feelings toward the Hell Palace. Chief Patriarch once said that if someone cursed at you, you should curse back. It didn't matter as long as you didn't make trouble. After all, Lu Li was the chosen one. He represented not only himself, but also the palace of Rakshasa. The anger that Su Yuechin had tried so hard to suppress was ignited by Lu Li. Her body trembled, and she almost lost her temper. Without any hesitation, she glanced over to the people of the palace of Rakshasa and said, "You want to play? I don't think so many of you are enough. I don't think the patriarchs of the palace of Rakshasa will agree to it if you die or get injured." Ha. Yuan Lingyun and the others laughed. Su Yuechin's provocation was too low level. Did she think she could defeat them just because there were so many Fourth Tribulation heaven gods? If they really wanted to fight, Luli could kill them all by himself. Luli put on a gentle smile. He waved his hand and said, "Su Yuechin, don't worry about us. Go back and ask your family. If they are okay with it, I will play with you alone. If you can kill me, you will be good. Of course, when you're dead, don't be angry." Luli unsheathed his sword. If the patriarchs of the Hell Palace didn't care, he wouldn't mind killing them to vent his anger. Of course, he knew that the patriarchs of the Hell Palace wouldn't agree to let them do it. Luli killed the 3 Rakshasa freaks by himself. The 3 Rakshasa freaks were famous warriors. So what if there were 6 Fourth Tribulation Heaven Palace? Could they defeat the 3 Rakshasa freaks? Alone? The eyes of those from the Hell Palace glowed. If Luli could fight against the 6 of them by himself, it would be a promising outcome. If they could kill Luli easily, then the shame of the Hell Palace could be washed away. Mu Yingying and the others were speechless. Luli being so staunch was beyond their expectation. Back then, this person single-handedly caused chaos in the Underworld Palace. After going to the Luosha Palace, he suppressed 3 of the strongest young masters of the younger generation. It could be said that he lived up to his reputation. Su Yuechin and the others didn't say anything. Clearly, they were transmitting their voices to the great elder of the Underworld Palace. Mu Yingying and the others were not worried. The Underworld Palace's great elder would definitely reprimand Su Yuechin and the others, telling them not to act recklessly. As expected, a moment later, Su Yuechin's pretty face turned ugly. She must have been reprimanded by the Underworld Palace's great elder. She snorted twice, then waved her hand and said, "Let's go. Great Elder doesn't allow us to move, so we'll let them go this time." Now that Su Yuechin had given up, the others could only glare at Luli with hatred. But after a few steps, Su Yuechin turned around and said, "Luli, after the birthday banquet, I want to fight you." "Whatever." Luli shrugged and said, "If you want to humiliate yourself, I will welcome you anytime." Su Yuechin snorted coldly. Her pretty face was clouded. She turned around and went to another manor. Several young masters of the Luosha Palace laughed. Luli was so staunch that he had suppressed Su Yuechin, which made them feel proud. The godson in the past was not so impressive. In the end, he was chopped into pieces by Su Yuechin. After Mu Yingying settled down, she sent some people over to entertain Lu Li and the others. An hour later, Mu Yingying arrived as well. As soon as she came in, she looked at Lu Li with a bitter smile and said, "God's son, you are putting me in a difficult position. They are angry and they are not happy. They asked for it." Lu Li smiled and said, "I didn't provoke them. Sui Wechin asked for it. Can you blame me for that? I can't just smile and say that she did a good job when she slapped me, right?" Mu Yingying shook her head and said with a smile, "This is my lord's birthday banquet. I am begging you, God's son and all of you, not to have any conflicts with the Hell Palace at the Emperor Mu Island. My lord will not be happy. Since Lady Yingying is begging me," Lu Li said with a smile, "I will do that. Don't worry. I will not fight back even if Sui Wechin presses me to the ground." Ha ha ha. The group of young masters laughed. Lu Qianqian was beaming, and Yuan Lingyun covered her face and giggled. Mu Yingying couldn't help but laugh. She raised her goblet and toasted to Lu Li from the distance. After dinner and wine, they were settled down to rest. Those who didn't want to rest were taken around by someone of the Mu family to enjoy the scenery of the Emperor Mu Island. Lu Li didn't go anywhere. He cultivated in his manner. He didn't want to make trouble, nor did he want to give others a chance to assassinate him. He just wanted to find a chance for Mu Yingying to undo the Black Heaven Talisman for him and then run away. Yuan Lingyun secretly sent a message to him, saying that after they settled down at the Emperor Mu Island in a couple of days, she would visit Mu Yingying secretly and arrange a secret meeting between them. As time went on, the Emperor Mu Island became more and more lively. Warriors from the Pavilion of Heaven and some reclusive demons came out to congratulate. 3 days later, most of them were here. The birthday banquet was coming soon. Mu family arranged for them to go to the Emperor Mu Island and live on Mount Mu God. This time, they were all separated. The young disciples and patriarchs were living next to each other in several manners. This was to prevent the young from causing trouble. There were banquets every day, but they were separated. The old stayed with the old, and the young stayed with the young. The young generation of the Mu family were separated. They took turns to entertain the young masters and young ladies of different forces. Lu Li was not in a hurry. He waited quietly for Yuan Lingyun to talk to Mu Yingying. 3 days after they arrived at the Emperor Mu Island, Yuan Lingyun finally sent good news. Mu Yingying would spend 2 hours to talk to Lu Li. The location was a scenic spot on Mount Mu God. Mu Yingying would enjoy the view with Yuan Lingyun. Yuan Lingyun could take Lu Li away in an interspatial artifact so that he wouldn't be noticed. Yuan Lingyun also brought another piece of good news. She was sure that Mu Yingying could undo the Black Heaven Talisman. Mu Yingying had confirmed this herself. Okay. Lu Li was overjoyed after he communicated with Yuan Lingyun. He believed that Mu Yingying would help him. None of the disciples of the Mu family would reject the 9 Strange Mountain. After all, it was the treasure of their ancestors. How long will it take to undo the Black Heaven Talisman? Chapter 2286. They were going to meet in a valley on Mount Madra. There was a waterfall in the valley and a yard. This was a place to entertain guests. The view was beautiful. The moon was hanging high in the sky. The breeze was gentle, and the valley was filled with the fragrance of flowers. Lu Li couldn't help but praise when he arrived. Big families were big indeed. The decorations here seemed to be casual, but they were done meticulously. Everything was harmonious and just right. Looking at the 2 beauties sitting in the pavilion, Lu Li felt the view was even more enchanting. Yuan Lingyun was wearing a yellow dress, and she was smiling sweetly. Mu Yingying was wearing a cream-colored dress. She was as quiet as a white flower. The 2 of them contrasted with each other, making Lu Li's heart race. Lu Li had seen many pretty girls. Inevitably, he felt his heart was racing. Soon, he calmed himself down and cupped his fist to Mu Yingying. Mu Yingying stood up and bowed to him. Her smile was elegant, showing off the demeanor of a young lady from a prestigious family. Okay. Yuan Lingyun stood up as well. She said with a sly smile, "I am here to be your matchmaker. I will leave the rest to you. I will take a look around. The view of the Crescent Valley is great." Mu Yingying blushed, which made her even more attractive. She glared at Yuan Lingyun, who left with a smile. After Yuan Lingyun left, Mu Yingying calmed down. She didn't feel embarrassed to be alone with Lu Li. She poured him a cup of tea and sat down. Looking at Lu Li, she said, "God Lu, you have gone through so much trouble to talk to me alone. I suppose it is something important?" Mu Yingying was skillful in her speech. She had pointed out many issues in just a few sentences. She made it clear that if there was nothing important, the conversation was unnecessary. Also, she pointed out that if Lu Li wanted to pursue her or flirt with her alone, he could forget about it. She was here to talk to Lu Li. Of course. Lu Li took a sip of tea, but said nothing else. He closed his eyes and used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. He was sure that nobody was eavesdropping. Lu Li didn't use psychic power, and he didn't seem to be doing anything. However, Mu Yingying felt everything was under Lu Li's control. It was a strange feeling, but she could faintly feel it. She looked at Lu Li with curiosity. It was said that this young second tribulation divine god used to be a commander of the Hell sect. Not only did he amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, but he also became the divine child of Rakshasa Palace. Now, it seemed that his reputation was not just for show. Extraordinary people were indeed extraordinary. Lu Li checked to make sure that there were no powerful warriors lurking nearby. There were only 2 maids on standby in the distance. His interspatial ring glowed as a small mountain appeared in his hand. It was one of the 7 mountains that Lu Li separated. Mu Yingying's eyes lit up when she saw the sacred mountain. However, she didn't seem to be sure. She stared at it for a while before holding her breath and said, "Godchild Lu, can you let me have a look at your treasure? Feel free to look around." Lu Li threw it to her directly. Mu Yingying grabbed it and used her psychic power to check. After a while, she opened her eyes and said with excitement, "God Lu, are you selling this? Any price is negotiable." "No way." Mu Yingying's expressions changed at Lu Li's words. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "I am not selling it, but I can give it to you. I am here to give it to you, Lady Yingying." Mu Yingying trembled and blushed. Clearly, she had misunderstood Lu Li. She thought that Lu Li wanted to pursue her, and that was why he sent it to the sacred mountain. Lu Li said nothing. He would let Mu Yingying misunderstand him. Negotiation required skills. It would be easier to state terms when the opponent was not calm. Mu Yingying muttered to herself for a moment, took a deep breath, and said seriously, "Thank you, Godson Lu, for your good intentions. However, I cannot accept a reward without doing anything. Furthermore, Yingying cannot marry out. So, Godson Lu, please state your conditions." "You have misunderstood me," Lu Li said with a smile. "I am not giving it to you with ulterior motives. I just want to make a deal with you. Furthermore, I don't just have one of these sacred mountains. I have many more." "More?" Mu Yingying trembled. She gulped, looked at Lu Li anxiously, and said, "Godchild Lu, how many do you have? Do you have 8? So the Mu family has 1. Lu Li smiled. It was right for him to give the sacred mountain to the Mu family. The Mu family had 1. Unless he destroyed the Mu family, he could not collect all the 9 mountains. It would be of little value to him. Mu Yingying was nervous, but Lu Li was not. He took a sip of tea and said, "Not that many, but not too little. Lady Yingying, let's talk. If I'm satisfied, I will give you all the mountains." Mu Yingying knew she was being too hasty. She took a deep breath, forced herself to calm down, and said, "What do you want, Godchild Lu?" "Black Heaven Talisman." All of a sudden, Lu Li said to Mu Yingying, "I have the Black Heaven Talisman in my soul. When you undo it, I will leave you 5 more mountains. Including the one you have, you will have 6. 6? Mu Yingying blushed even more. She had an idea. She was in a dilemma. She thought about it. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, she asked, "Godchild Lu, if you remove the Black Heaven Talisman, are you leaving the Devil's Sea right away?" She had to admit that Mu Yingying was smart. The Black Heaven Talisman must have been planted by Luo Fian. If Lu Li removed it, Luo Fian would know, and Lu Li would not be able to stay at the Devil's Sea any longer. "Yes." Lu Li nodded and said, "When I remove it, I will leave at once, and I will leave the Ziyang land. I see. Mu Yingying was in a dilemma again. Of course, she wanted the 9 mountains. That was the treasure of her ancestors. Over the years, the Mu family had been looking for the 9 mountains at all times. It was not only a treasure, but also the glory of the Mu family. That being said, removing the Black Heaven Talisman would infuriate Luo Fian. Luli was a guest at the Mu family. Needless to say, it must be the work of the Mu family when the Black Heaven Talisman was removed. If Luli were an average person, it would be fine. But he was the godchild of the Palace of Devil's Sea. Luo Fian would not let it go so easily. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Mu Yingying said, I am sorry, godchild Lu. I cannot make the decision. I must report to my family. Wait. Luli motioned Mu Yingying to sit down and asked, I want to make sure of one thing. Lady Yingying, can you remove the Black Heaven Talisman easily? It should be fine. Mu Yingying nodded and said, I am good at this. There are less than 5 people in the family that are better than me. I have never done it, but it should be fine. That's good. The ring on Lu Li's hand glowed. One mountain after another appeared in his hand. There were 5 in total. Including the one Mu Yingying had, there would be 6. Lu Li didn't take out the last one. Looking at Mu Yingying, Lu Li said, Lady Yingying, I have a request. You cannot report this to the Mu family. I don't want anything to go wrong. As long as you remove the Black Heaven Talisman for me, the 6 mountains will be yours. The Mu family had many eyes. What if something went wrong once this was reported? What if the Mu family tried to take it by force? By then, a powerful warrior would come and take it. Luli wouldn't even have the chance to cry. Since Mu Yingying could remove the Black Heaven Talisman, Luli didn't want any information to be leaked. But Mu Yingying was hesitating. After all, she had too little experience. She couldn't make a decision so easily. Chapter 2287. Luli had put Mu Yingying in a difficult position. Even though she was an immortal lady, she did not have much power in the family. Now, she was asked to make a decision, and this decision could bring war to the Mu family. How could she easily agree to it? Luli smiled, waved his hand, and said, Lady Yingying, take it easy. Have some tea to calm yourself down. Mu Yingying forced a smile. She picked up the tea and sipped it, but she didn't look normal. Luli said in a relaxed tone, Ying, let me analyze it with you. Do you think the Witch Palace has the ability to fight against the 2 forces? The Rakshasa Palace and the Hell Palace had just fought a great battle. Mu Yingying was not used to Lu Li calling her so affectionately, but she was moved by his words. Lu Li's words made sense. The Palace of Rakshasa and the Hell Palace had just fought, and both sides suffered great losses. Most importantly, if the Luosha Palace and the Mu clan were to start a war, how could the Hell Palace sit back and do nothing? At that time, the Rakshasa Palace would have to bear the attacks of the 2 great forces. Devil Palace could not afford it. Having reached this conclusion, Mu Yingying felt relieved. Seeing that Mu Yingying's expressions had changed, Lu Li continued, The Palace of Rakshasa will not fight. They don't have the guts to fight against 2 forces at the same time. At the most, they will ask for an explanation from the Mu family. The problem was there was no evidence for this. The Mu family could push the blame away. They could say that they didn't know anything. They could say that I cracked it myself, or that I found someone to crack it. So many powerhouses came to the birthday celebration this time. Who can guarantee that there are no experts who can break the mysterious Heaven Talisman? Yes. Mu Yingying's eyes lit up. Without evidence, who could say for sure? Everyone had their reasons, and the Mu family could completely push the blame away. If you are really worried, I can cooperate with you. Lu Li reassured Mu Yingying. He said, I can leave a letter saying that I solved it myself. You can send the letter to the Palace of Rakshasa. In this way, even if the Palace of Rakshasa knows about it, they cannot make trouble for you. They can only suffer in silence and bear grudges against you. If I remember correctly, the relationship between the Rakshasa Palace and the Mu family isn't very good, right? Are you afraid that Luosha Palace will hold a grudge? Mu Ying nodded slightly. The Mu family and Rakshasa Palace had fought in the past, and both sides bore grudges. The Mu family was also a large faction, so how could they be afraid of Rakshasa Palace bearing grudges? Most importantly, Lu Li said with a smile, "You have overestimated the influence of me, the god's son, in the Luo Palace. As a matter of fact, I am just a tool that the palace lord used to suppress the families of the Luo Palace. Otherwise, why would the palace lord plant the mysterious heaven talisman in me? I'm just a divine son with no background. If I were to leave, the upper echelons of Devil Palace would be happy, so I won't bring you any trouble. On the other hand, the Nine Strange Mountain. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. If I give a Nine Strange Mountain to the palace lord, you will never be able to get it. How about it? Ying, do you want it?" Lu Li was like a strange uncle trying to trick a little girl. His tone made Mu Ying blush again. Still, she didn't say yes easily. She kept on thinking. After a full 3 incense sticks worth of time, Mu Ying finally spoke. "Can I find someone to help you undo it? It's not very convenient for me to undo it." "No," Lu Li said firmly. He even put away the mountains and said with certainty, "Only you can do it. If the news gets out, I will give a Nine Strange Mountain to Chief Patriarch right away. You won't be able to take it away from me." Lu Li's words made Mu Ying hesitate again. After a while, she made up her mind and said, "Okay, I will do it for you. But not today. I need to get ready. Tomorrow night. I need one night, and I can't do it here. Let's go to my place. It's safe there. When I undo the Black Heaven Talisman, no one can disturb me." "No problem." Lu Li nodded. Then he put on a cold expression and said seriously, "Lady Ying, I hope you can understand that I have a Ghost King in my interspatial ring. I have taken control of the Nine Strange Mountain. It will be a piece of cake for me to destroy it. I don't want anything to go wrong. You're the only one who knows about this. If I find out that someone else knows, I will destroy the Nine Strange Mountain right away." "I know." Mu Ying nodded. She bowed to Lu Li and said, "The Nine Strange Mountain is very important to the Mu family. Thank you so much, Divine Son Lu. We are just taking what we need." Lu Li stood up, waved his hand, and said, "I will leave now. Lady Ying, I will leave now. Sweet dreams." "You too, Divine Son Lu." Mu Ying watched Lu Li leave. She was still excited. Lu Li suddenly turned back, looked at Mu Ying, and said, "Right, I forgot to tell Ying one thing." "What is it?" Mu Ying asked in surprise. "Ying, you're really beautiful," Lu Li said with a straight face. "If it were not for the fact that I have to leave, I would pursue you." "Ha ha ha ha." Lu Li left with a laugh. Mu Ying was both embarrassed and angry. Lu Li's flirting caught her off guard. All the young masters she met were from famous families. Which one of them wasn't well-mannered? How could Lu Li act like a hooligan in broad daylight? Lu Li had left. He found Yuan Lingyun and left. Mu Ying was still standing in the pavilion. She might not be able to fall asleep tonight. Lu Li didn't sleep even after he came back. He didn't think Mu Ying would do anything rash, but who knew if something could go wrong? Tomorrow night would be a critical night. He could be smashed into pieces if something went wrong. Yuan Lingyun didn't say anything after she sent him back. She was a smart girl, and she knew what to ask and what not to ask. Judging by Lu Li's looks, he must have made a deal. She was both disappointed and excited. She had some desire to be the goddess. But would it affect her promotion if she helped Lu Li to leave? Also, she had mixed feelings about Lu Li. She didn't want him to leave, but at the same time, she wanted him to leave. When Lu Li came back, the patriarchs hadn't come back yet. He went back to his residence in peace and began closed-door cultivation, waiting for the arrival of tomorrow. There was another gathering the next day, but Lu Li didn't go. He had been cultivating in his room. He told others that he didn't want to have any conflict with Su Yueqin. Lu Qianqian and the others all expressed their understanding. Yuan Lingyun and the others went to the gathering. The patriarchs weren't there. Lu Li waited quietly in his yard. At night, a warrior suddenly sneaked into Lu Li's yard like a ghost. "God Lu, our goddess wants to see you." The dark-faced man cupped his fists to Lu Li in silence. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Show me the way." The dark-faced man said nothing. He led Lu Li out of the yard and walked toward the back of the mountain. With a token in his hand, Lu Li could move freely in the back of the mountain. He entered the yard with ease. As soon as he entered the yard, Lu Li used the trace of Tao to sense it. He was relieved to make sure that there was no powerful warrior in the yard, and that Mu Yingying was alone. Lu Li went into an attic filled with a faint fragrance. Clearly, this was Mu Yingying's room. Mu Yingying blushed unnaturally when she saw Lu Li. Chapter 2288. Mu Yingying did not do anything rash. The Nine-Strange Mountain was too important to the Mu family. She could not take the risk. She did wonder if it would be okay to bring Lu Li here alone. But she would have to touch Lu Li's soul when she released the Black Heaven Talisman. Lu Li could not do anything rash. More importantly, they were at the back of the mountain, the base camp of the Mu family. There were many powerful warriors of the Mu family. If anything were to happen to her, Lu Li would die a tragic death. Also, Lu Li did have the Nine-Strange Mountain. He would not trick her. The Nine-Strange Mountain was too tempting for her to take the risk. Mu Yingying soon calmed down. She looked at Lu Li and said, "God Lu, shall we start?" "Sure." Lu Li shrugged and said, "Where? Here? Or to the room?" As soon as Lu Li finished his words, he felt something was off. His conversation with Mu Yingying seemed to be ambiguous. He and Mu Yingying looked at each other, feeling embarrassed. Mu Yingying thought about it and said, "Let's go to the room. I need to activate the inhibition formation in case we are disturbed. Once something goes wrong, your soul will collapse. You must be careful." Lu Li said seriously, "I have given the Phantom Lord an order. If I die, he must destroy the mountain at once." "Don't worry." Mu Yingying nodded and said, "I am confident in that. I will not let anything happen to your soul. God Lu, please come in." Mu Yingying walked in, and Lu Li followed her. Mu Yingying's room was beautiful. Many things were pink, especially the pink bed, which was very attractive. Mu Yingying blushed even more after she came in. Seeing Lu Li looking around, she could not help but feel shy. She took out 2 cattail hassocks, put them on the ground, and said, "God Lu, please sit down." Lu Li stopped looking around. He sat down with his legs crossed and put on a solemn expression. Mu Yingying sat across from him, blushing. They were almost face to face. A faint fragrance wafted over. Lu Li looked at the peerless beauty of the girl in front of him and sensed her youthful aura. He couldn't help but feel his heart skipping a beat. He took a few deep breaths and said, "Lady Yingying, this is..." Mu Yingying's breaths were short. Clearly, she was not calm. She said, "I need to put my hand on your head later. This may be offensive." It's fine." Lu Li closed his eyes to calm himself down. After a while, he said, "Come on, Lady Yingying. I am ready." Mu Yingying nodded. She poured out some Xian energy to activate the inhibition formation in the room. Then, she put her beautiful hand on Lu Li's forehead. She instructed, "Godson Lu, don't make any movements later. I need to be completely focused. Otherwise, if something goes wrong, your soul will be affected, and I will also be devoured." "I know." Lu Li nodded. After a while, Mu Yingying's hand glowed. Then a surge of strange energy entered Lu Li's head like a ghost and surged toward his soul. Buzz, the dragon soul, reacted at once. A surge of powerful qi and energy came from the dragon soul. Lu Li's soul was glowing in a golden light. Mu Yingying's strand of soul power was immediately annihilated and devoured. Mu Yingying suddenly opened her eyes. She was terrified. Her chest was heaving up and down. She asked with her eyes wide open, "Godson Lu, how come you have such a powerful enchanted soul?" Lu Li smiled and said, "This is my secret. I hope you can keep it for me." "Well, will there be a problem if I have the enchanted soul? Will it be unsolvable?" "Not really." Mu Yingying looked at Lu Li with curiosity. This second tribulation heaven god had given her so many surprises. More importantly, this man had no background. Such a powerful enchanted soul could not have been given to him by Luo Fian. Luo Fian was so kind to Lu Li that he wouldn't have planted the Black Heaven Talisman. She didn't even have such a high-level enchanted soul. Something was not right. Mu Yingying suddenly had some doubts. Could Luli have a powerful background? Otherwise, how could a second tribulation heaven god kill a fourth tribulation warrior? The three Rakshasa freaks were not average fourth tribulation heaven gods. Also, Luli could tame the Phantom King. How could such a powerful demon be tamed so easily? What was more, Luli had the god boat, and he had to leave the Ziyang land. All these factors added to Luli's mystery. Phew. Mu Yingying took a few deep breaths to calm herself down. Then, she put her hand on Luli's forehead again. This time, she released some soul energy, but it was different from before. It was gentler. This time, the soul energy was not aggressive. The dragon's soul didn't react. It just let the soul energy enter Luli's soul. The soul energy didn't mess around. Instead, it circled around Luli's soul and checked carefully. After an hour, Mu Yingying was drenched in sweat. She retracted her hand, opened her eyes, and said, "God Lu, I've checked it clearly. I can solve it, but it's a bit difficult. I'll need 6 to 8 hours. I need you to meditate and open your mind. Don't interfere with anything I do, or I might not be able to hold on." Okay. Luli meditated and didn't waste any time. He trusted Mu Yingying completely. She took out some pellets and took some. Then, she closed her eyes and rested for a while before she reached out her hand again. Luli didn't care anymore, but he could feel more soul energy entering his soul this time. The soul energy wandered in his soul and began to integrate with the strange power of the Black Heaven Talisman. Good. An hour later, Luli felt something. He could clearly tell that Mu Yingying's soul energy was integrating with the strange power of the Black Heaven Talisman. The strange power was being brought out bit by Mu Yingying's soul energy. Even though it would take some effort to solve it, given Mu Yingying some time, it would not be a problem. When all the strange power was brought out, the Black Heaven Talisman would be solved. Clearly, it would consume a large amount of soul energy to solve it. Mu Yingying's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her clothes were soaked, revealing her skin. But at the moment, Luli and Mu Yingying didn't care about this. If they were distracted, Luli would be doomed, and Mu Yingying would be hurt as well. In a magnificent hall at the main peak of the palace of Luo Sha, a beautiful lady was lying on her side on a bed. She suddenly opened her eyes, which were filled with coldness. "How dare you?" She flew into a rage and shouted. Horrifying chi and energy spread out from her. The two maids next to her knelt down in fear. Luo Fian suddenly stood up from the bed and shouted, "Someone!" Swish! An old lady dashed in, knelt on the ground, and said, "Master, Granny Ru." Luo Fian's eyes were cold. She shouted, "Take my token and open the space gate to the Mu family. Tell the chief patriarch to capture Lu Li and bring him back. If he cannot be captured alive, then bring his body back." Luo Fian threw out a token, and the old lady disappeared. Luo Fian's face was still gloomy. The Black Heaven Talisman that she planted in Lu Li's soul was being forced out bit by Mu Yingying. How could she not know? Chapter 2289. In a manor at the back of the Mount God Mu, Lu Li and Mu Yingying were sitting face to face. Lu Li was meditating like an old monk, but Mu Yingying was pale. She was soaked in sweat, and her robe was sticking to her body. They had been doing this for half the night. Mu Yingying had consumed a lot of soul energy, or else she wouldn't be like this. She said she was going to ask someone else to do it because she knew this would happen. After all, she was a young lady from a prestigious family. It was embarrassing for a man and a woman to stay in the same room for a night with Lu Li. If Lu Li could sense through the trace of Great Path, he would have seen her in this embarrassing state. Lu Li would have been able to enjoy her limitless body parts for free. Every young lady would care about these things, especially unmarried ones. Not to mention that Mu Yingying was the goddess of the Mu family, the most beautiful lady of the Rakshasa Sea. For a young lady from a prestigious family, her reputation was more important than anything else. If her reputation was tainted, she would end her life and be too ashamed to face others. This trip to the Nine Strange Mountain was too important for the Mu family. Also, Luli was about to leave, and he seemed like a gentleman. Therefore, Mu Ying let go of her shame. She would not have done this if it were someone else. The sky was already turning white. A new day had begun. Today was the day of the birthday. Countless people on Mount Mushin started to get busy. The Mu family had been preparing for this day for over a year. The entire Mount God Mu was decorated with lanterns and streamers. The atmosphere was joyous. Everyone was wearing new robes. Servants were walking around, busy. Mu Ying was getting impatient hearing the noises outside. She was supposed to entertain the guests last night. She didn't show up all night. If she didn't show up today, someone from the family would come looking for her. However, this could not be rushed. The energy of the mysterious heaven talisman was too strange. It had turned into specks of light and hid in Luli's soul. She had to get rid of it bit by bit. If not, Luli would have endless troubles in the future. At the very least, Luo Fian could find Luli and kill him easily. I have about an hour. Luli was getting impatient as well. Luo Fian might feel it when the mysterious heaven talisman was activated. He had been afraid that he would die instantly. He was fine now, but that didn't mean he would be fine later. If Luo Fian was aware of it, he would immediately send someone to inform the Great Elder. Fortunately, this place was quite far from the Rakshasa Palace. Even if he opened the domain gate as fast as possible, it would still take more than half a day. He still had time. Soon, the sky was completely bright, and Mount Mushin was even livelier. Countless people began to gather at the Mushin Palace, preparing to congratulate the old master of the Mushin clan. The upper echelons of the Mu clan were all outside the Divine Shepherd Palace. There were more than 1,000 tables set up inside and outside the Divine Shepherd Palace. Only those with status had the qualifications to come. Ordinary elders of small powers were not qualified to come. Mu Wanyun, Mu Wanshan, and the others were all here to receive the guests. There were also many people from the younger generation of the Mu clan. Today was the old man's big day. How could they not perform well to make the old man happy? Where's Ying? Why isn't he here yet? Mu Wanyin swept a few glances and frowned. Many young masters and young mistresses had arrived, but Mu Ying, as the goddess, actually didn't come out to receive them. This was a little unreasonable. Mu Wanyin waved his hand and sent a young miss to look for Mu Ying. There was even a hint of displeasure on his face. Mu Ying was usually very obedient. Why was she so immature today? A young miss immediately flew over and entered Mu Ying's chamber. When she saw that the restriction was actually activated, a trace of surprise appeared on her face. She patted the restriction, and it immediately lit up. Mu Ying's charming face became even paler. She gritted her teeth and transmitted a message. Sister Wanru, you go over first. Tell the Great Elder that I will come over later. Mu Wanru frowned. What could happen to Mu Ying? She actually wanted to delay her arrival. However, since Mu Ying had already said so, she didn't ask anymore. She turned around and returned to the Divine Shepherd Palace to report to Mu Wanyun. Nonsense. Mu Wanyun saw Sui Wachin walking over slowly, and his expression instantly turned ugly. He transmitted a message. Make another trip and ask Ying to come over immediately. What else can be more important than today's matter? If she doesn't come, I will be angry. Even though Mu Wanyun's expressions didn't change, his words were very strict. Mu Wanru didn't dare to say more. She ran to the back of the mountain and activated the inhibition formation again. Looking at the inhibition formation glowing, Mu Ying's face turned pale and blue. This was the last moment. Lu Li's black heaven talisman would be dissolved in the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. How could she stop? She had to send another message to Mu Wanru to report to Mu Wanyun, and she would come over after she washed up. Mu Wanru rolled her eyes, filled with surprise and doubt. Mu Ying didn't activate the inhibition formation. She had been here twice, and it was still not activated. Was there something that could not be seen in there? What could Mu Ying do that could not be seen? The only explanation was there was a man in there. Mu Wanru was even more curious on the fact that Mu Ying didn't show up last night. She quickly ran back to report to Mu Wanyun and then came back. She hid nearby and waited quietly. She wanted to see if this pure and noble lady had a man to spend the night with last night. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Mu Yingying took her hand back. Her body trembled as she felt dizzy. She fell onto Luli. Luli reached out his hands out of instinct and hugged Mu Yingying. He felt something soft and warm in his arms. Luli's heart skipped a beat, but he had no time to worry about this. He checked his soul at once. When he was sure that there was no energy of the Black Heaven Talisman left in his soul, he was overjoyed. Mu Yingying woke up after a short recovery. She smelled a strong smell of masculinity in a man. It was the first time she had contact with a man. Her heart was beating fast. She got up in a panic and ran out. Luli paid no attention to her. He continued to check his soul. He did it for more than 10 times. After he was sure that he was safe, he stood up with relief. It is time to leave. His eyes were filled with excitement. As long as his soul was not controlled, he would have nothing to worry about. As long as he could run away in time and get out of the Devil's Sea, he would be like a fish in the open sea. This time it was different. Previously, he had been at sea for too long. Enemies could stop him in front of him. This time, as long as he was fast enough, Chief Patriarch and the others would not have a chance to stop him. The speed of the god boat was freakishly fast. He had seen the map. In less than half a day, he could go to the sea. After that, he would be completely safe. Luo Fian would not chase after him for months for a nobody like him. Would he? In the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Mu Yingying came back. She had calmed down, but she was still avoiding his eyes. She looked at Lu Li and said, "God Lu, I have done what you asked me to do." Buzzing, Lu Li took out the 5 mountains and gave them to Mu Yingying without hesitation. She was overjoyed as she took over the mountains. There were 6 mountains in total, including the one belonging to the Mu family. She only needed 2 more of the 9 mysterious mountains. "Okay, Lady Yingying." Chapter 2290. Luli didn't take out all the mountains. He kept one for future negotiations. This mountain was useful to him. Mu Yingying had 5 mountains, and the Mu family had 1. Therefore, Mu Yingying would be more eager to get the other 2 mountains. Anything could be negotiated. Oh, Mu Yingying's beautiful eyes lit up. Her originally pale face was now exceptionally rosy, and her beauty was unparalleled. She opened her mouth and then closed it. She looked at Luli angrily and said, "God Lu, this is not right. Why didn't you take them out before?" "Don't be mad," Luli said with a smile. "Lady Yingying, honestly speaking, you are the one who is the better end of the deal. Even if I had 2 or 3 mountains, you have helped me get the mysterious heaven talisman, right? I have given you 6. Okay." Mu Yingying smiled and said, "I am too greedy. I apologize to you, God Lu. I want to ask, is there only 1 mountain left? Is there another one?" "No," Luli said with certainty. "I am not lying to you this time. If there were, I would not give it to you so easily. There is 1 more, and you have to find it yourself." Mu Yingying was disappointed. She nodded and said, "God Lu, tell me, what else do you need me to do?" "Give me a ride," Luli said with a smile. "For safety reasons, I hope Mu Yingying can send me out of the Devil's Sea. Pretend that you are being held hostage. You can leave as soon as you are out of the Devil's Sea. Of course, this might affect Yingying's reputation, so you should consider it carefully." But Mu Yingying looked awful. Luli's condition was too difficult for her to accept. Of course, she knew Luli would not make things difficult for her. She was not afraid of him. However, pretending to be held hostage would indeed affect her reputation. Sui Wechin couldn't even lift her head up a while ago, including this time. She could understand why Luli was doing this. With her as a hostage, at least the Mu family wouldn't do anything rash. Without the Mu family, it would be much more difficult for the chief patriarch of the Palace of Devil to hunt down Luli. There was one more thing. Today was the birthday of the patriarch of the Mu family. If Luli did this, it would be ruined. The patriarch of the Mu family would be furious. Therefore, she hesitated for a moment and said, "How about, after today, I can go with you tomorrow. You know, today is the old man's birthday. No, Luli said with determination. When you were dissolving the mysterious heaven talisman, Palace Master Luo should have known. I think Chief Patriarch will receive the order soon. So I must leave now. If I don't leave now, it will be too late. Luli thought about it and said, think about it. Which is more important, the 9 strange mountain or the birthday? If the old man knew that you had obtained so many divine mountains, he would probably be overjoyed. This is the best gift. You should know what the 9 strange mountain means to the Mu family. It's fine if you don't cooperate. I'll keep this divine mountain for now and sell it to your family when the opportunity arises. No matter what you give me now, I won't sell it, because I have to guard against the Mu family hunting me down. If your Mu family hunts me down, I can only destroy it. Don't do anything rash. Mu Ying was getting anxious. The 9 strange mountain was the real deal. If one of them was destroyed, then the 9 strange mountain would be useless. It could only be a souvenir. Mu Ying was struggling. The thing she had been struggling with these days might be more than what she had experienced in her entire life. She had been living under the protection of her family. She didn't have the right to make decisions. Now, Luli had asked her to make decisions again and again. She was under a lot of pressure. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, she made up her mind and said, "Okay, I promise you. But we will leave the Shepherd Island secretly. When there are pursuers, you can take me hostage. What do you think?" Compared to the 9 strange mountain, her personal reputation was not important. So what if she was taken hostage? Luli had done so many great things. She didn't feel ashamed. She was a girl, and she was not competitive. This was not a big deal. As for the old man's birthday, Luli was right. The 9 strange mountain was the best gift for him. If she could bring the 9 strange mountain back, the old man would say she had done a good job. Of course, she didn't want to alarm him if she could. It would be best to let the old man have a happy day. If she left in secret, the old man's birthday would be over by the time she couldn't keep it a secret anymore. That would be for the best. Of course, Luli wouldn't run away in public. It would be best if he could leave in secret. He nodded and said, "Do I need to make arrangements? I will wait for you here." "No. The more arrangements, the easier it will be." Mu Ying thought about it and said, "I just need to tell you something. Let's leave now. I can only get the mountain when you are safe." "Thank you, Lady Ying." Luli cupped his fists and thanked her. Mu Ying opened the inhibition formation in the room and said to a maid, "Xiao Xiang, I need to go out. If anyone comes to see me, tell them that I have urgent business and I will be back in a day or two. By then, I will apologize to the old man and tell the family not to worry." A maid was in the side chamber. She was surprised, but she didn't think too much. Mu Ying led Luli out. As soon as they were out of the manor, Luli stopped. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He noticed that someone was secretly observing them. That person seemed to be in shock, as if he had just discovered a new continent. If he didn't deal with this person, the matter would be exposed. Sister Wanru." Mu Ying's expression changed slightly. Mu Wanru was spying on them. This person was secretly at odds with her. It seemed that Mu Wanru had misunderstood. If this matter was not dealt with, she was afraid that rumors would spread all over the place. Luli threw a look at Mu Ying. He dashed to Mu Wanru and slapped her. Mu Wanru fainted and was taken into the wicked bead at once. Whoosh! Luli came back. Mu Wanru was just a warrior at the later stage of the third tribulation, and a weak one at that. For Luli, he didn't feel any pressure. Mu Ying was surprised. Then she nodded. Luli's solution was the best. Otherwise, the matter would be spread out. "God Lu, if you trust me, can I put you into my interspatial artifact?" Mu Ying thought about it and said, "I will teleport to the northernmost dragon husbandry island. I will let you out there, and you can leave as soon as you can." "Sure." Luli agreed without any hesitation. Mu Ying looked at him with mixed feelings. Strange people did strange things. Luli was too bold. In her interspatial artifact, life and death would be in her hands. If she could bring Luli to the palace of God Husbandry, there would be many powerful warriors there. She could kill Luli in an instant and take the mountain. Aren't you afraid that I will lie to you? She asked in a weak voice. Luli grinned and said, I trust you, Lady Ying Ying. You're a pretty girl. You must have a pretty heart. I don't think you can do such a dirty thing. Mu Yingying's cheeks blushed at Lu Li's provocation. She looked at Lu Li in a different light now. Lu Li was different from the other young masters she knew. He had a special kind of charm. Such a pity. For the first time, Mu Yingying had special feelings for a man. But she knew very well that this man was poison. He did not belong here. She could not have any feelings for him, or she would suffer for the rest of her life. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.